Montreal, game one of that series. Winnipeg beat the Blues. The Jets now lead the series 2-0. Dallas a 4-3 win over Colorado, tying the series at 1. And the Kings blew a 4-goal lead, still ended up beating the Oilers 6-5 in game one of that series. John Creer and Sharon Lucchetti, the winners of the 129th Boston Marathon. Headlines are brought to you by Ketch's Law. At Ketch's, they specialize in helping those who have been injured, not only from a one-time incident, but from a lifetime of hard work and labor. Does this sound like you? Visit KetchesLaw.com. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in around 30 minutes.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher.
When has that been necessary to fact check?
And Hardy.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
On 98.5.
Hey there.
Sarge GPT going up.
Let me hear you say, "Bo, bo, bo."
Crush me, mommy.
Say my name.
I'm a robot.
I'm the son of the Pope.
I'm a goddamn drag!
Yeah, good luck, dude.
Nothing like a good tushy.
I love you. And I think you know that. Excuse me?
Toucher and Hardy.
Watch Daddy and Uncle Freddie.
Knocking back some fun. Having some fun.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go.
That's gross. This is delicious.
All right, good morning. Toucher and Hardy. No Fred Toucher this morning. Andrew Callahan, Ryan Johnston. What a crew. Look at these guys. Huh?
Locked and loaded, baby.
Very excited to do the show this morning with these fine gentlemen. Day after the marathon. How's your marathon hangover, guys? I mean,
My feet are a little sore.
I know none of us ran, but we still feel the excitement of the day, and you party your ass off. You just get all marathoned out.
How long did it take you guys to get out of there yesterday?
I'm lucky enough I get to walk to and from. So I was in like the last 2-mile stretch, busy as could be. Saw the women's winner go by eventually in a tight pack around like mile 24, 25, and then just walked home.
What town do you live in?
I'm like around the Brookline Fenway area.
Oh, look at this guy.
High rent district.
Yeah, no kidding. Good for you.
Landlord who has not checked rent prices in a good 10 years, and I don't intend on telling him how things have changed.
Okay.
Got very lucky.
all
Great
right.
day, though. I don't know. I feel a little bit of a high carryover from the Marathon Monday. This is the best day in the city. And it sounds cheesy and
You and
wholesome.
Rochi.
Did you invite Roach again this morning?
Holy crap. I mean, I was happy to be there yesterday doing the show with Dan because he loves it. And he keeps talking about how special and unique it is. I'm like, there are many marathons, and I understand this is the big one, but he's really, really into it. Like, he loves it, and it is, I guess, unique in that there's a ball game on at the same time, and it is one of the 6 major. It's not like the St. Louis Marathon. Okay. It's not even Chicago. That's not one of the big 6, is it? I don't think it is.
Couldn't tell you.
I have no idea.
Maybe it is.
Feel confident New York is in
Maybe
there?
it's just like Chicago. I don't
Maybe
know.
a Tokyo?
New York, Tokyo, London. Ryan's looking it up right now. I can tell.
Berlin?
Tokyo, Boston, London, Berlin, Chicago, New York,
Okay.
Sydney.
So it's like Chicago or New York, but it's still unique. And there's only 5 other places where this happens too. But all right, it's a big deal. It's a big day. It's kind of the unofficial beginning of spring.
Do you know there are now
in
7
Boston?
majors? There are now 7 majors.
What's the 7th?
They added Sydney last year.
Oh, well, that was bound to happen. I don't know.
It's like the Players' Championship is the 5th major, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gone to do what Andrew did yesterday, which is walk down of my own volition or take the train in or whatever to witness any part of the marathon when it wasn't required for work.
I think there are 2 things about this. One, it's a holiday in the city, right? Like school's out. Yes. Patriots Day.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's unique here.
Well, I mean, the kid, I don't think it always lines up like this. And you'd think I could remember. I've had 2 kids in school now for at least 1 kid in school now for 18 years. But I don't think it always lines up with spring break week, does it, 12?
It always does. It
Yeah.
always lines up with the April vacation week. It's always the Monday of April vacation week is always Patriots Day.
Same way February vacation's always President's Day, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's right, RJ.
That one I knew. All right, but this one, fine. But so, they're off. It's a holiday. How close, you say, I can walk to and from? How long of a walk was it?
Just over a mile.
All right.
It's a nice day.
I do that. And it was a nice day.
Can I tell you the real secret sauce of the Boston Marathon, though, and it's standing within the marathon world? Ours sucks the most. Like, there's a thing called Heartbreak Hill, which is not one hill, but a series of them, about as late in the race as you could have. Like this. Our race is hard, man.
Well, Rochi talked about that yesterday, the 1 year that he ran it, and his wife, I guess, had run it, several times beforehand, and they got up the hill there in Newton. He's like, oh, my God, I can see what they call it Heartbreak Hill. That sucked. And she said, there's 3 more. That was one. You haven't done it yet. You're not even halfway through it.
Like, this is an event for famously being arduous and difficult and just sucks. And we're like, oh, we're at the top of the sucks power rankings here.
Tim McCone ended up running yesterday. He was going for a time of 3:30. He ended up just cracking 4 hours. I think it was 3:58 and change.
Good for him.
It's unbelievable. I mean, honestly, and I don't know what the pacing is. I'm sure we could figure it out, but that sounds like he did in about 240 minutes. So he's still clocking. He's still got sub 10-minute mile splits at that pace.
I thought you were going to say that's the length of his show. Like, he just is used to doing things in 4-hour increments. In every mile, he was doing a commercial break.
He's used to doing things for 4 hours that are painful and arduous, and really, 20 minutes in, you don't want to do it anymore.
Headlines at mile 10.
Yeah. He must have been cooking earlier, because the footage I saw of him running toward the end, those were not 9-minute miles he was running in the 2 video clips I saw. Those are what I would look like at mile 4. And everybody thinks about it. Anybody who's run thinks about, could they do it? Could you do it? Probably not, but I think I would at least make a representative effort. But there's no way I'm doing it in less than 5 hours, I don't think. I don't think there's a chance.
I barely snuck under 5 the one time I did it.
Oh, that's right. You did do it.
I did one 4 years ago. It was Martha's Vineyard. It's a hot day, and it was just one of those days. You're going, you've prepped, and I just don't have it. And this was my first, so I didn't know, okay, mentally, how do I get around? I don't have it today. And because it's so sparsely populated on the course, it's just me. And then I'm going by a Stop and Shop where some woman is just on a Saturday picking up groceries. And then I'm on the sidewalk in Martha's Vineyard trying to get back to a place where I've never been to the island before. And that's the thing that sucks, is when it's you and your thoughts. So at least with Boston, you have the whole city behind you. Granted, again, Heartbreak Hill is late as possible in this painful event that you just signed up for. Ours sucks the worst in terms of the difficulty. It's brutal, man.
Was there a chance of getting lost on Martha's Vineyard when you're doing it? I mean, you're out there, you're by yourself.
I kind of wish I had.
Do they close the roads?
No, they just have cones.
Just weaving in and out of traffic.
You're in the woods for the first half. I'm like, oh, this is cool. You're still around some other people. Mile 13, great. And then you get to 14, 15, and I'm just out in a field. Had I just suddenly woken up in this place, I would have no idea where to go, what to do, if there's any living person around me.
Do you have to stop and hit the cross light, the crosswalk light, and when wait for traffic or anything?
You jog in place as you're waiting?
You just follow in the orange cones. And I had some dude who easily was in his 70s dust me in the last mile or two, because I was just something popped in inside of my leg. I was like, this just couldn't be going any better. But we finished, and then the next day, get this, got to cover Patriots Saints, week 3, which I don't know if you remember this game. This is Mac Jones' rookie year. Jonnu Smith dropped 8 balls that day, and they got smacked by the Jameis Winston perpetually mediocre Saints.
You're going to have to give me more than Jonnu Smith dropped balls. I mean, that doesn't narrow it down enough for me.
So it was early in that season. This was right before Brady came back, And remember the whole week before that Saints game, because this was week 3. The Bucks, Brady's return was week 4. We didn't talk about the Saints at all.
Here's the context I remember talking about that week was how many wins do they need to have before Brady comes back? You don't want Brady to come in here and hand you your like 4th or 5th straight loss. Could you have a winning record by the time Brady returns, all that stuff? Okay.
So 28-13. And there was a late touchdown to kind of put lipstick on what was a big 15-point loss and a pig here for the Patriots. But, yes, I mean, that week, I remember I was working with Karen Garrigan at the time at the Herald. She had a report regarding Brady and maybe Alex Guerrero, who also spoke with Tom Curran. Everyone's like, there's a football game Sunday right against not Tom Brady. Like, the Saints are coming in.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just an ugly game.
Classic trap game.
really was. And then they had Saints just bled the clock. 13 plays, 75 yards, almost 7 minutes to score a Taysom Hill touchdown with 2.5 minutes. So you're just watching this going, please stop them.
No.
Please stop them.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we got plenty of football today. Alex Barth is going to be joining us later on in the show. Mike Reese will be on at 7:20. And, of course, Andrew Callahan is here for the entirety of the show today. We're going to talk some Bruins because Ryan Johnston is here, so we got all kinds of stuff. We also have Adam 12, who is back today, who missed yesterday's show.
Yes.
Because he thought he was dying on Sunday night.
Yes.
I don't even know why I called you on Sunday night. I think it was to bitch about something.
Well, I think you were calling me to kind of just do a quick run through of yesterday's show because it was going to be a different show with you live from the Marathon with Rochi. But you happened to call me as I was driving myself to the emergency room on Sunday night because right around 8 o'clock on Sunday.
Wait, hold on. Is it that bad if you can drive yourself to the emergency room?
It was
first of all
fair.
Excellent point.
Yes, fair.
But do you ever go to the emergency room unless you have to?
Depends on the personality, but I trust that Adam was in some real danger here.
I'm sure there is some...
How long was the drive?
It's like 10 minutes. Like I'm really lucky to be as close as I am.
Sounds more legit.
That factored into the decision making as well.
I mean, you've been to an emergency room. It's not a
several times.
It's not a good place to go for.
Where do you think I went after that Saints
healthcare
game?
I was gonna say, man, you got your knee blowing up all over the place,
So what happened?
So I about 8 o'clock Sunday night, I started to feel this kind of discomfort. It was in my middle of my back, and then it was kind of radiating around to like my midsection under my rib cage where my abdomen is. So of course the first thought I had was appendicitis. No, that's not where your appendix is. It's down lower. Okay, that's good. But the discomfort's getting worse and worse, and I'm getting more and more nervous. So that's when I made the call and said, you know what, I'm going to go and ask a doctor what the hell's going on.
And
it ended up being gallstones. I passed a gallstone on Sunday night. It was not anything I'd experienced before. It certainly wasn't the end of the world. I've had lower back issues before. That's terrible. Back spasms so bad you can't get out of bed, or if you try to get out of bed, you feel like you want to die. So it wasn't like it was that bad, but it certainly was uncomfortable enough where I was like, you know what, I should probably go get this looked at. And once I found out what it was, I'm like, yeah, I probably don't want to do that again. So.
But the thing is, had you already passed it by the time you got there?
No, I was in the process of passing it, apparently. And at least that's what the doctor told me. Because I know, weird, right? So that's where all that kind of tightness and strange, kind of burning feeling was coming from. I passed it while I was there because, it's an ER, so you're there minimum 3 hours.
Right. Did they tell you there's anything you can do to prevent them in the future?
He just said, he kind of asked me about my diet and, how much I've been drinking and all that kind of stuff. Right. I told him a tremendous amount.
Right.
And he said, probably don't do that. No, but seriously, it's one of those things where if you have a sporadic diet, if you fast, that can kind of throw off. Because again, we're talking about gallstones coming from your gallbladder, right? Your gallbladder puts bile into your upper GI to help break stuff down. So if you kind of interrupt the flow of that, that's where the gallstones come from.
If you go long periods without eating, say if you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and then you kind of get busy, for a while and you don't eat until like noon or 1 o'clock every day, is that?
Yeah, it's probably not the best.
Okay.
Although it'd probably be worse if you're getting up at 4 and like eating a giant Italian hero in your kitchen, straight to the face before you come into work. I'm guessing that'd be the worst scenario.
Who did that?
But any sort of like the point that the doctor is trying to make is, stick to whatever your routine is. If you find an eating routine that works for you, stick to it, because once you start to interrupt that, it can lead to what I ended up with on Sunday night, which was a gallstone.
First of all, 12, glad you're better.
Thank
Second
you.
of all, gallstones and doing some very quick research. Shout out the Mayo Clinic. Much more interesting than I expected.
Oh, really? Because I was getting bored. But
you can have
thank
a
God,
right
Andrew
shoulder
Callahan
pain.
to the rescue.
You're welcome. Right shoulder pain. Do you have any right shoulder pain?
It's funny, actually. I did. That's what
It's
was
a
so
funny,
weird.
funny
it's
thing.
a funny thing. On Saturday night, I kind of slept funny. So on Sunday, my neck and my shoulder on my right side were a little tweaked. So that's what I thought this whole thing was coming from at first. I'm like, it's just the tweaking from my neck had made its way down the back. But then when it started to move around the front, I'm like, that's not right.
What food, if they told you at the hospital, you got to stop eating blank or you're going to keep getting gallstones, would you say, well, I guess I'm going to keep getting gallstones?
Oh, I mean, anything with spice, anything. Like I made Mexican. They were like, hey, take it easy, liquid diet mostly for the next 24 hours. I said, okay, and then I proceeded to make green chili black bean burritos for dinner last night.
Okay,
So,
if they told me that eating pizza was the root cause of the gallstone, and you're going to have to suffer through this if you keep eating pizza, I'd say, okay, well, I'll see you next week.
Okay, exactly.
Because it's minimum 3 times a week.
Yeah.
You order a pizza, and then I will have. I'm the guy who will eat the pizza 4 days later if there's some left in the fridge. I'm
Same.
like, oh God, there's 2 slices left.
4 is too much.
No, it's not.
No, it's just right.
If you get a pizza on Friday night, you won't eat it on Tuesday.
No.
Oh, I will.
You just got to put
There's so little chance it's still there, but if it's there, I'm eating it.
I mean, I look at leftovers as a 1 week thing. Like anything with it that was cooked within a week is
it
still
depends
good.
on what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, not meat, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
6
Hell
days?
yeah.
There's meat on a pizza if you're eating it right. So, yes.
Oh,
And you would
Hardy.
go 6 days. I don't know. Like, I envisioned the last pizza I had in my fridge that long. There was something white on the top, and it was not mold, but it felt like
No, it's
the
Did you
fat
leave it in the
separating.
box, or did you move it into? You got to move it into a Tupperware.
No,
is what
moved
you
it
gotta do.
into
Oh, okay.
plate.
All right.
Congealed fat. That's good.
Right.
Put that thing in the toaster oven.
Hey, look, congealed fat will give you gallstones, and I'm trying to avoid some right shoulder pain.
That's good to know.
I don't care. I'll take the gallstones. Yeah, I'm not going to not eat pizza, doctor. What else? What else do you have for me? That's it. That'd be my one.
Chipotle is atop my list.
Oh.
Big Chipotle guy.
How do you feel about the Chipotle honey chicken?
Tried it actually last week.
And it's not what you're used to. It's not your go-to, obviously, because it's a new menu item.
But chicken is the go-to. One hit, one miss. Once it was too overpowering, a lot more honey there, too sweet where it shouldn't have been, overpowering a lot of the salt. The other time, offset it very nicely.
You gotta stop eating Chipotle, Andrew, or we'll see you in here again.
No.
I'll see you in here again.
Yes.
Okay.
What about you, RJ?
I mean, the list is long.
I was going to say that beastly barbecue you put on your Twitter a couple of days ago. Holy
anything
cow!
smoked.
Adam asked, what did I make this weekend that I put online? It's a picanha is what it's called. It is a
¿Cómo?
You ever go to a Brazilian steakhouse where they come around with the giant skewers of beef and slice it? That's what they're slicing. It's got a nice fat cap on one side of it.
What type of animal is it?
It's a cow. It's the sirloin cap is what it is, the actual cut. But it's called a picanha. I made a 5-pound picanha over the weekend for our Easter dinner. It was phenomenal. Smoke it for a couple hours, then finish it on the grill with a nice sear on the outside.
Is there a bone in there?
No.
So it's 5 pounds of meat?
Yeah, that's a big one. They're usually more like 2.5, 3 pounds. A 5-pound one was massive.
How much is left?
4
pounds?
The in-laws took some leftovers with them, so like we're having it for dinner tonight. That'll be, there will be leftovers for.
Well, why
dinner
tonight? You can just have it next month. I think it should still be good.
7 days.
Yeah,
good for 7 days.
Sirloin cap sounds like the, meat version of pork butt.
Yeah,
it's a delicacy. I'm having pork butt tonight.
And it's one of those cuts that like a lot of people don't necessarily know about, so it's still fairly cheap. It's as good as like a ribeye, but it costs like half the price.
I just had an idea. Workshop this with me a little bit.
Sure.
Because my daughter's graduation is coming up, and my wife who does 90% of the party planning, festivities, where are people going to stay, all this stuff, blah 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 blah, time, date, all that stuff. She said to me, she goes, "You're in charge of the food." I'm like, whoa, that's a big thing. You don't want me in charge of it. She said, "Yes, you take care of it." Like, all right. So I said, "How about a food truck? How about we get a food truck?" Yeah, it's more of like an open house thing. It's going to be going on for like 3-4 hours. People will be in and out. Her other friends are having parties same day. You can't coordinate it, but we just want something there. So whenever people get there throughout the course of the graduation day party, they can get hot food from a food truck, right? So I start investigating. There's like a lot of options. I don't know which way to go. What if Ryan Johnston showed up with his smoker like the day before?
RJ's Roadside Barbecue.
I got a nice Reed's Ferry shed you can stay in. You can be close to the smoker,
right?
Outside, and you can be there on Saturday, a full 24 hours ahead of time. Smoke that sumbitch all day, all night, and then you end up being like the carving, the serving guy. It's like one-stop shop. You're the smoker, you're the server, you do everything.
Sounds awesome.
You got a cot in that shed?
No. Marcy has her chair in there, and it serves as a menstruation hut also.
Yes, barrel of magazines, right?
Yeah. So she'll head out there once a month for a few days with the magazines and the hard candles, just things to keep her occupied. Little radio, but you can sleep in that chair. If you
I feel
want
like we
to.
should negotiate throughout the show, because I was asking Ryan beforehand. I was like, "Are you glad to be off the road?" And you said, "I don't know what I'm going to do with myself for the next 5 months."
Right.
So we got to get.
Apparently, I'm sleeping in Hardy's shed.
No. You will be down the road in a hotel. I think you owe him some golf in here. I think if he is smoking his meat, bringing it to you, the delicacies that only Ryan Johnston can deliver. There's got to be more in here for my guy.
I would combine them. I would say, like, you show up Saturday morning and start, smoking that picanha or whatever it is you choose. Menu's up to you, buddy.
Right.
And if you could leave that thing for a couple hours, we'll go play a quick 9. But I don't know if you can be away from it for that long.
I can control it with my phone from wherever I am.
All right. All right. Get it going. Then we'll go play. And then, you stay over and then you serve the next day.
The food truck is an excellent idea.
Okay, all right. Well, I got a couple of.
I was at a party at Mike Flynn's house one time. He had a beer. He had one of those beer trucks with the tap on the side, and he got the ice cream truck out in front of the house.
Oh, hell yeah!
Like just rolling, people rolling up to the side of the ice cream truck and getting whatever they want.
That is some good living up there on the North Shore.
Damn right it is.
Wow, that is some 10-year NFL Super Bowl champion North Shore living right there. Whew, good for him.
That's what happens when you bring a beer truck to like a 5-year-old's birthday party.
Well, yeah.
He's got to get the ice cream truck too.
Yeah, one truck for the adults, one for the kids. Yours is in the back of like a pickup truck though, right? A smoker. Like I'm trying to envision your truck.
Mine is
smoking.
No, it's just on the patio. It is
right,
not.
It
is not. I know, but it is not.
It
is not easily mobile.
All right, I'll call the. I got 2 food truck guys I got to talk to today after the show.
What kind of food trucks are you thinking?
One of them is a grilled cheese truck.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So
who doesn't like a grilled cheese?
The guy just makes all these different grilled cheeses, and it's his own sourced, it's like a honey grilled cheese. So everything has to do with the, like his bees, his honey, all this stuff. And like, it popped out at me because my kids still, to this day, 3-4 times a week, they're like, I'll just make myself a grilled cheese, for dinner. That's what they want. So, but he's got all here's a grilled cheese with some, shredded chicken. Here's grilled cheese with steak. Here's grilled cheese with this and and that's what he does. He makes, awesome grilled cheese sandwiches on his food truck. And then there's a pizza truck that I've looked at. And then, yeah, that's it. Those are the 2 I've got it narrowed down to.
Yeah, I think the grilled, like, I don't know. There's not a human on earth, I don't think, that doesn't like a grilled cheese.
Who doesn't like grilled cheese? Serves it, and
especially when it's like an adult version.
Yeah,
I was going to say only the people who have are lactose intolerant, but if you're looking at pizza, they're screwed either way. So I would say, yeah, grilled cheese.
Yeah, but a lot of lactose intolerant people, much like Hardy and his pizza, are just like, screw it. I guess I'm just going to have, we're just
long
going
as
to
the
suffer
party's-
through this one today.
The
or
party's
go eat
outdoors.
somewhere else with your lactose intolerance. So, it's not really. And he does have all those options. He's got a gluten-free one. He's got a vegan one. He's got all kinds of stuff. That's probably going to be the guy. All right, we're really late now, so let's find out what happened last night, and we'll get to everything else we have coming up on the show this morning here on Toucher and Hardy. Hold on.
What's it like to work with Hardy and Wallach?
What a golden ticket I've gotten.
There you have it. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Zone.
Did you catch the game last night?
All right, it's Toucher and Hardy. It's Andrew Callahan and Ryan Johnson here this morning. Stoney back from his trip to the emergency room there for the gallbladder thing.
Yes.
And now we find out what happened last night. Ryan? Or maybe more appropriately, yesterday. What happened yesterday?
Yeah, we start yesterday morning.
Okay.
With the Boston Red Sox, Hardy, who had Walker Buehler on the mound and trying to take 3 out of 4 against the Chicago White Sox. Just read 1 week after losing a series to the same Chicago White Sox.
Well, this was the supposed to be the get right series the first time around, and now it's just a matter of okay, all right. We didn't get right against the White Sox when we visited them in Chicago, but now we have a chance to try and get right again.
And they got it right.
Okay.
And a base hit in right field. Bregman is in. Here comes Story chugging home. He scores. Campbell with a fascinating at bat and a really nice one. And the Red Sox open 4-1.
Hey, get jump out to a 4-1 lead. Walker Buehler did the rest. 9 strikeouts over 7 innings yesterday. Solid outing for him all the way around. Gave up, I think, 1 run in the first inning. Just kind of cruised the rest of the way. Alex Cora, he's a fan.
From my end, I've always been a fan. I learned the hard way in 18. Just talking to him, it's not only pitching, it's the overall thing. Just talking to him, Alex, Justin Wilson, these guys, they're proven winners. When they come to the ballpark, they expect clean games and play well and be consistent. He's been solid for us. He's getting there. He's not there yet. Like I said in spring training, in a bad day, he'll go 5, give us a chance to win. Today was solid. He gave us 7.
All right, so Alex Cora is probably in the same mindset that I think a lot of Red Sox fans are right now, where it's like, long season, we got a long ways to go, and games like that, moments like that, pitching performances like that, give me hope that everything is going to be fine. And pitching-wise, he probably has reason to believe that. I think it's too early for them to realize, what this team is going to be like offensively, hitting-wise. Defensively, though, this is going to take some time to convince me and probably to convince him and to convince fans that everything is A-okay with this team. Because defensively, some of the errors that they have made and some of the screw-ups, and there was another one yesterday where I'm like, what are you doing? Is it just not a focus anymore? I've seen this in other teams. I've seen it with this team in years past, where there's a certain understanding and belief that when you come into Major League Baseball and you're at this level, you don't have to work on this stuff anymore. A lot of this stuff should just be automatic. And until I get a stretch where you see on the field that defensively they're sound and they're not just making dumb mistakes, they don't even have to be errors. They can just be mistakes. Then I'm having trouble believing that everything is going to be fine and it's a long season. Yeah, it'll be a long season, all right, if you just can't play some, responsible defense, both in the infield and the outfield. And that's the thing that I think he's probably still trying to convince himself of. I know I'm trying to convince myself.
I think, especially with Duran, who's had trouble with, 3 fly balls in the last 2 to 3 weeks, I kind of look at it and be like, I thought this was over. I was watching this documentary on Netflix. Jarren Duran dropping fly balls is there to go watch in episode 2 and 3. It shouldn't be happening right now. I give them a little bit more slack defensively because I just think some of the pieces are performing, even Bregman, who's had a couple of errors, below their career average. I think there will be some positive regression to the mean. The thing for me that does inspire hope, granted it's been the White Sox and it's been the Rays, and I get that, Walker Buehler having 9 punch-outs, you don't need defense at that point. And I think he, as much as anyone on the roster, maybe top 3, is a bellwether for how good or bad this team will be. Because Tanner Houck is a mess right now. His stuff, his location, everything. But if Walker Buehler can hang on as Bayo comes back here, Lucas Giolito is going to be in the mix to bring that rotation. Because the pitching is where I have legitimate questions. Hitting is going to be fine. But pitching, if Buehler bounces back on what's been his third straight quality start, this is a team that can really build on something.
So we've got what coming up next for the Red Sox there, RJ?
They got a 3-game series against Seattle starting tonight at Fenway.
Okay. All right. Well, I generally about this time of year is when I really start paying attention. This is from my Jerry Trupiano days. What is their record now? They are
13 and 11.
13 and 11. Okay. You need 35 games before you can tell what a team is. All right. So you start to get a sense of it now. But he always said 35 to 40 games, and I think it's almost the quarter. Not the quarter pole. I found out that the quarter pole is the last quarter of the race. We always use quarter pole wrong. So maybe Numi who told me that. It's a horse
racing thing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But this is when you start looking and say, all right, well, whatever, like early season jitters are out of the way. Now I start watching. All right. Now I really start focusing in. You get a chance to see. What do you think?
I usually wait until about game 150, 155 to figure out who's really good.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. Seattle, good luck.
Timing's not only good, though, Hardy, in terms of just the total number of games played, because today will be game 25. The next 3 series they have, starting with Seattle, as RJ said, are going to be against winning teams because they're going to go at Cleveland and then at Toronto. So, these are games with increasing stakes, good rotations, better defensively than you. There's a smaller margin for error than when you're playing at the Rays and you get the White Sox at home for 4. They're going to learn some stuff about themselves, especially the last 2 series, Cleveland and Toronto being on the road.
All right. You got any marathon recap for us, RJ?
No real audio to play.
You're kidding.
It's tough to find.
Nothing down to the wire, no last minute tape breaking going on?
No, there was not. It was not like a sprint to the finish or anything like that.
I am not embarrassed or ashamed to tell you I don't know who won. I have no idea.
You were broadcasting yesterday.
Well, it wasn't.
You were at the starting line.
I was at the starting line. I could,
we were at the finish line. That would have been a different situation.
Seriously, do we know? Do you have
John Creer and Sharon Lucchetti, both of Kenya.
Okay,
were the victors yesterday in the men's and women's 129th Boston
Shocking.
Marathon. Yes.
Interesting fact, Hardy. Creer's brother won the Boston Marathon back in 2012. So that makes them the first sibling victors of the Boston Marathon in the history of the race.
What were their times? What time? Tell me what time.
It was 2:04 and change, I think.
I believe the women's winner beat the course record by 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, just blew it away.
And that actually went down to the wire as they were taking a turn, I think, from Hereford onto, or maybe it was Exeter, onto Boylston. They were still tightly packed. She pulled away.
Yeah.
Smashed the course record.
By the way, only because Rochi mentioned the name yesterday, Marcel Hug of Switzerland won his 8th men's wheelchair Boston Marathon. Susanna Scaroni, American, won her 2nd on the women's side.
And you can see it at any point on the course. But, yesterday from the starting line, the elite wheelchair athletes and marathoners that go off from the start, it's unbelievable how fast they're going. And it is a bit of a downhill start to the marathon anyway. So they caution runners. This is what we were talking about with some of these people yesterday. Not to go too fast at the beginning, not just because it's downhill, but you don't want to burn yourself out. You're feeling good. There's all this excitement. You got to take it easy. Those guys do not give an F. They are flying from the beginning of that thing.
Also, I learned from Rochi yesterday, you have to hydrate in that portion of the race.
He had some really good tips.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about running the marathon next year, I urge you, go and download the episode of the show yesterday where Rochi gives you fascinating tips like drink water and a lot of it and stay hydrated.
Stretch.
I don't think you mentioned
that.
I don't think he. Yeah,
That's an important
it
one
was
too.
mostly about the hydration and the importance of drinking water and other fluids before and at the beginning of the race.
Mostly so you can look good in the pictures in Kenmore Square.
That's right. It was
you didn't want to look too haggard by the time you got there.
What happened last night, by the way, is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happens. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lopresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. All right, more what happened last night coming up. NBA, NHL to get to. We'll do all that after the headlines with Brian Johnston here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Red Sox with a marathon Monday victory over the White Sox 4-2 at Fenway. They'll open up a 3-game series against Seattle tonight. Brian Bayo makes his season debut on the mound. Off day for the Celtics. They will play Game 2 of their best-of-7 series against Orlando at TD Garden tomorrow night after taking Game 1 on Sunday. NBA last night, the Detroit Pistons a winner over the Knicks. That series now even a game apiece. Clippers top Denver. That series is also tied. NHL playoffs. Washington beat Montreal in overtime 3-2 on a game winner by Alex Ovechkin. That was game 1 of that series. Winnipeg takes a 2-0 lead over St. Louis with a win last night. Dallas and Colorado tied at a game apiece after a 4-3 Stars win. And the LA Kings beat the Oilers 6-5 last night in game 1 of their series. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by DN Van Lines. Take the chance out of your move. Make the sure bet with DN Van Lines, an approved mover of the Department of Defense. DNVanlines.com. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines at 7 o'clock.
More Toucher and said you wanted to hear more music in the morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
No, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
All right, it's Toucher and Hardy. We are here with Andrew Callahan and Ryan Johnston and NHL playoffs. Somebody came up to me randomly last week. I was at a restaurant, and this guy could tell I was the guy who was standing at the sink in the bathroom, not opposed to a little idle chit chat, a little small talk.
It's where all the best conversation really happens, is gathered around the bathroom sink.
Not at the urinals.
Right.
I don't think anybody's down with that. But, if you want to chat a little bit while we're washing our hands, so be it. And he looked at me just out of nowhere. The first words he spoke to me, he goes, "Man, it effing sucks that the Bruins aren't in the playoffs." Because we were at a restaurant where they were showing, playoff hockey, or there was some game on. And I don't even remember who it was. But he said it, and I'm like, yeah, it really does. This is the time of year when we're supposed to be watching the Bruins in the playoffs, because we have so consistently year after year after year, and even in years when they don't have a freaking chance.
You
got a chance. You make the postseason in the NHL, and you have a chance. It's not like the NBA where you make the postseason. So what? It doesn't matter. It does matter in the NHL.
One of my favorite days of the year is that first really warm Saturday where the Bruins are playing in the playoffs at TD Garden. You can go down and find a bar. They've all got the doors and windows open air, day drinking in preparation for like a 7:00 face-off on a Saturday night.
The ice is
phenomenal.
The ice is going to
It's
suck.
garbage.
It's gonna
Absolutely.
be all soupy and steamy in there, and this is what springtime is.
Everybody's going in jerseys and shorts. It's like it's that's like one of my favorite days of the year. We don't get that this year.
We don't get it.
Yeah.
And this guy was probably half in the wrapper, but so what? We're just washing and drying and having a moment with a couple of dudes, and that's you just said out of
just
thin
blowing
air,
on
out
each
of
other's
nowhere.
hands.
Yeah.
You should have asked him. It's like, we should get a picture, don't you think?
I don't think.
Pulling Tom Izzo, just
Oh no,
urinals in the background. Here, post this for everyone. Good to meet you.
I think that would have only been funny if. And it would have been funny because I don't think he was talking to me because he knew that I did this.
You could have been any guy at the sink.
I don't think so, which would have made it outstanding. Now I wish I would have done it. You know what? Let's get a picture.
Let's get a picture together.
It's like, I just kind of want to start all of our interviews.
Why would we get a picture together?
Today with Mike Reese and Alex Barth. Drafts in 2 days. Man, it sucks that Bruins aren't in the playoffs. Just drop that mic slap. See what happens at 7:25.
Standing at the urinal.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Let's get a picture.
Yeah.
What? Tom Izzo said it to me once.
Yeah.
What?
This is the politest go away I've ever received. He literally gave me a parting gift.
Yeah, it was good. All right. So anything? Oh, something did happen last night.
We got a couple of things happen last night. The greatest goal scorer in the history of the National Hockey League.
You don't mean that.
He is.
No, he's scored the most. Is he the greatest goal scorer?
Well, with the most goals, yes, I would say that he is.
Okay.
Hank Aaron, the greatest home run hitter.
I was going to say Mount Everest is the tallest. Is it the greatest mountain? Well, maybe it is.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, all right. But just because it's the most doesn't mean it's the best. Is he the best? Was he better than? Was he a better goal scorer than Gretzky?
He is not a better player than Gretzky. He is a better goal scorer than Gretzky.
I don't believe that.
What do you think? He's a compiler? Like what? He just hangs around long enough to add more?
Who was more fun to watch score goals, Ovechkin or Gretzky?
Different types of goals.
Exactly.
Well, then it's a matter of taste. I mean, I love watching Alex Ovechkin unload from the left circle.
It's a qualitative analysis. We're not just doing quantitative. If we're just doing quantitative, get out your Guinness Book of World Records and we'll just leaf through that for 4 hours. Who is the better goal scorer? Who is more inherently talented at scoring goals, Ovechkin or Gretzky?
I go scoreboard. It's Ovechkin.
You stink. Come on.
Also, Ovechkin.
The shorthanded goals alone should tell you that it's probably Gretzky.
Okay. Then what do you want? What do you want from me?
Doesn't want to play.
You don't want to play.
I enjoy Alex Ovechkin running people over in addition to his goal scoring, as he did last night. He about launched Cole Caulfield into the third row last night.
Okay. Now but now you're talking about something other than scoring goals.
Yes.
Just as a pure goal scorer who is better at it. And if you say scoreboard again or tell me how many he's scored.
I mean, what else is there? What measuring stick do you want? It's you prefer the bobbing and weaving and pretty goals of Wayne Gretzky? Great.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
I do.
I like the power and the violence of Alex Ovechkin.
Just a wicked, dangerous slap shot.
Everyone knows where Ovechkin is going to shoot from, and they still can't stop it. The man's 39 years old, and he doesn't move anymore. He literally stands in one spot for the entire 2 minutes of the power play and still scores.
Okay. There's something to be said for that, but I still say it's not as much fun to watch as Gretzky was.
Well,
that's all.
This seemed like fun last night.
Puck comes toward Beauvillier. Ovechkin was in the vicinity, and a shot here from Beauvillier. Chance, they score! And Ovechkin got it! His first overtime game winner! Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Montreal! Alex Ovechkin, the overtime game-winning goal!
First overtime game winner.
Believe that?
Wow. You know what? I'll say it. Alex Ovechkin, sneaky, not clutch.
So brave of you.
Thank you. He's not. His first time, 900 goals almost, and that's the first time he's had a game winner in overtime?
In the playoffs.
In the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, because they don't get the playoffs. Sneaky, not good.
Not clutch.
Sneaky bad hockey player. Huh, yeah. Who knew?
This one was interesting out west last night. The LA Kings had a 4-goal lead last night. Jumped out to a 4-0 lead with under 2 minutes to go in the second period.
Come on.
Connor McDavid and the Oilers come back, tie the game 5-5 with a minute and a half to go. McDavid, I think, had 4 points last night. And then
Moore moves in. Moore to the trailer. Janela scores! Deflected in front. 41 seconds left. In this wild game, game one of this first round series, has the Kings back in front. They're up 6-5.
Philip Deneau of the Kings, 42 seconds to go in the game, saves their bacon after they blew a 4-goal lead.
Philip Deneau more clutch than Alex Ovechkin.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
Scoreboard. What a disaster that would have been in L.A. if they cared about hockey in L.A. That would have been an absolute nightmare for them to live through. Do they care about? Is there a big fan base there anymore? There was for a minute.
Yeah, I mean it's L.A. They don't really care much about a lot of anything.
I think they legitimately care about the Lakers still. I think there are legitimate Lakers fans.
Dodgers I would put up there too.
Okay.
But the Dodger fans are kind of known for show up in the third inning, leave in the seventh inning too.
Well, that's traffic. You can't blame them for that. It's horrific. Come on.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
We don't have horrific traffic around here?
No, we got trains.
Yeah, easy to get everywhere.
Beautiful public transit system. You just get in and out. No worries. Football they do not care about. The biggest, we've said this they've got 2 NFL teams in L.A., and they are probably ranked 3rd and 4th in terms of popularity after the Raiders and the 49ers. So I don't know where hockey stands these days, but what a disaster that almost was.
So when I think of L.A. Kings fandom, the only person I think of is Will Ferrell. Which,
right.
Brian, you would know better than I would. Is he the biggest celebrity fan of an NHL team that you could regularly identify? Like, doesn't just show up for the cup, doesn't just show up for one game, but is in there front row in the jersey among the people?
So the Rangers have Tim Robbins is a big one. He's at a lot of games. I'm trying to think who else has Pat Sajak, big Capitals fan. Big Capitals fan. Is there a lot?
Okay. I was at one Kings game once when the Red Wings played there, and I was living in Vegas at the time, and I went to the game, and I remember 3 things about the night. Well, actually 4. Number 1, saw Jim Rome in the bathroom.
Did you get a picture?
I did not, and he did not have security.
Did you
with
take
him.
a peek?
I did. I don't think he was big enough at the time to need security. Number 2, we were sitting behind Cuba Gooding Jr., but in front of Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Ooh.
Friend of mine who worked for the Kings had gotten us the tickets, so we had really good seats. That was fun. And also, I had snuck with me on the flight from Vegas to Los Angeles some party favors in the watch pocket of my jeans. That's the perfect size pocket there for just a tiny little bag. And I had that tiny little bag that, again, this is like pre-9/11, when you could do things like that and not worry about being, imprisoned for it. And after the game, I got into that and did not sleep the entire night after the game and flew home just that 1-hour flight from L.A. to Vegas. And I remember, oh, God, it was such a mess. I hadn't slept. I fell asleep on the plane, and when I woke up, I had soaked through my T-shirt with sweat. And the woman sitting next to me was as far away from me as she could be. But he's like, oh, there's something wrong with this dude. I was probably having a series of mini heart attacks from just my heart going.
How old are you?
Oh, 28.
Old
maybe.
enough to know better.
Oh, God, yeah.
Good on you, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Why not?
Was that a good idea?
You live in Vegas. I don't know. I feel like there's an extension, like you're saying.
Well, then leave it there. Don't take the booger sugar with you to L.A. when all you're doing is can you just go to a hockey game and enjoy it and then fly back? No, as it turns out, I could not.
Look, I was ready to call BS in that story like it was a Mad Lib. Cuba Gooding Jr. somehow involved at a Kings hockey game, and then you got a little pocket sugar. But then you admit, I screwed up at the end. I sweat through my shirt. Some woman didn't want to be near me.
Yeah, she didn't. I don't blame her. All right, we got to step aside. Mike Reeves will be joining us at 7:20. We have an idea for tomorrow's show, but I need input from you, Andrew, even though you won't be here tomorrow. So you're going to help us come up with this idea next.
a three. Good night. Jalen forces it up over He tied it.
WBZFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Walker Buehler struck out 9 over 7 innings. Red Sox over the White Sox yesterday at Fenway 4-2. Boston will open up a 3-game series against Seattle tonight at Fenway. Brian Bayo makes his season debut on the mound. An off day for the Celtics. They have a 1-game-to-none lead in their best-of-7 series with Orlando. Game 2 tomorrow night at TD Garden. In the NBA last night, Clippers topped Denver, tied that series at 1. The Detroit Pistons with their first playoff game victory since 2008, evening up their series with the Knicks at a game apiece. In the NHL last night, Alex Ovechkin scored twice, including the game winner in overtime. Washington, a 3-2 win over Montreal, takes game 1 of their series. Out west, Winnipeg over St. Louis. Jets lead that series 2-0. Dallas, a 4-3 win over Colorado. That series even at a game apiece. And the Kings win game 1, 6-5 over the Oilers. John Creer and Sharon Lucchetti, the winners of the 129th Boston Marathon. Headlines brought to you by the 99 Restaurants. Visit the Nines the day after the Red Sox win. Get a free kids meal with every adult entree purchased. You gotta love the Nines. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in around 30 minutes.
Some people play the game.
Blocked by Horford.
Some talk about
Let's welcome to the Sports Hub Celtics show, by the way. Jim Murray, Chris Gasper.
The Sports Hub Celtic Show with Murray and Gasper. Saturdays at noon on the Sports Hub. Half Toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many off.
Text chain last night?
He was,
Oh,
but
wait,
we didn't text about that, though. We were talking about other stuff.
We're talking about other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you missed it, John Wallach tweeted out or put on Instagram a photo or a reel of his hotel room, presumably in Paris.
Yes.
Okay. Even though I thought that would be gone from Paris by now, but maybe not. Didn't he leave?
He posted an outdoor picture from Luxembourg.
I think they did. I think it was Luxembourg, then Paris. I think is the flow of things. I think he was in Luxembourg for the Easter holiday, and then the Paris trip was after that. I believe.
Luxembourg, as it turns out, is a country.
Yes.
We don't need to cover this ground again. But we had Fred especially wanted to let Wallach know how miserable it was going to be being in Paris with his kids, the twin 14-year-old boys who would have no interest in museums, churches, the fine cuisine to be found in the City of Lights. Well, I was more focused in on the fact that he was sharing a hotel room with his wife and 2 kids. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, if this is supposed to be a vacation, then I understand it's more money, but you're flying across the ocean. You're going to multiple countries. You're staying in Paris for a few days. Spring for the extra room so that everybody can have some space. It doesn't even have to be for romantic purposes. It can just be just for sheer enjoyment. Exactly. And to do that, so he put a photo online of his hotel room, which is much smaller than the size of my childhood bedroom in a house that for the 4 of us was maybe 1,200 square feet. And I mean, the room was 9 by 9, maybe. And then I think there was an attachment though. There was, it was a suite, if you will.
Yes.
But he said the kids' room was even smaller than the one that he took the video of.
Yeah, the caption is, at least the kids have their own coffin-sized room next door.
Yes.
Oh, God.
But at least they're not all in the same room, which is what we thought before John was leaving. We're giving him a real hard time.
Yeah, I guess in some ways it's better, but holy crap. I mean, that's small. I was only there once, and we'd stayed at a nice hotel, but the room was small.
Also, I think this is a video. This is my first time seeing it. There's a play button. It doesn't go anywhere, but one of the comments, which are on fire, and I want to read a couple in a second, was always love a good tongue smack to open up a video. So he got 1 second, and it's just him making a noise with his mouth.
Ryan, do you have time to pull the audio of that? See if we can hear the tongue smack at the beginning of it?
I'll see if I can get that pulled up.
Okay.
Other comments, can we get a pic of Wallach pecking at a baguette?
Okay.
Cozy like birdhouse your boys built for you at Home Depot Kids Workshop. The mating nest. Well, Elaine, if you think about it, it's really only 2 days. Today is half over, and we're leaving on Friday.
You count showers. That's like a whole nother day.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
What is he?
I didn't know he was going to Paris.
What is he on Instagram? Is he also some stupid Ken Griffey handle?
No, John Wallach 24.
yeah.
Oh, I don't think I follow him.
No, you do.
Oh, I am following. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at it again right now. Wow.
The picture, the picture though on Instagram is him smiling in a t-shirt, glasses, hat at the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he does keep up with the Ken Griffey bit. He's standing in front of the plaque for Ken Griffey at the Hall of Fame, and Pedro. Good company.
Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, Wallach Fred not here, which means Andrew Callahan is here today, and I'm glad that I have your brain for these things because. Andrew, you are maybe among the first, and you really started a trend of people who were just weekly guests on the show, but came prepared with a bit. As a matter of fact, we'll be doing 2 stats in 1 lie at 8 o'clock today, right?
With a spin on it.
Oh, wow.
Draft spin, baby.
Big tease right there. But so you've already got the mind for this sort of thing. Tomorrow it's going to be Michael Hawley who's in here, and I have an idea for draft week that we should do a draft here tomorrow morning on the show of Sports Hub personnel for a certain purpose. What that purpose is what we're going to determine right now. All right? So the 3 of us, RJ, you'll be back here tomorrow.
Okay.
The 3 of us will sit here and draft fellow Sports Hub employees, contributors, whatever, in what? My initial thought is a tag team death match in that you are selecting people for your team to fight the other team in a no-holds-barred battle to the death. Okay?
Okay.
So one team will remain standing, whether it's everyone on your team or whether it's just most people will die in this scenario, but the team with at least one person standing at the end will be declared the winner, or until it's just, all the fight has left everybody. Okay, so that is my initial thought. 3-person draft, and you just keep selecting people until you feel you have the team that is most likely to come out on top in a battle to the death. Okay? That's option number 1.
Yes.
Okay, Andrew, you've got a mind for these things. Help me out. What do you think? Is there something else that we can explore here?
What I like about the draft is there's a lot to consider. Like, you could do the default Hunger Games. Okay, who would be best outdoors, surviving, physical fitness.
Right.
But the thing, given this is a personality-driven business, that would make me most intrigued by this is if you drafted pairs. Now, you can construct your pairs, or they can come ready. Yourself and Fred, Felger and Maz, Zolak and Bertrand, because then you have to ask yourself, who is going to stick together the longest in this fight for survival, where who has that person's back and who does not? Like, is Wallach fleeing and flying immediately away?
No, he's just clicking his tongue. We got that audio for you.
All right, let's not get too far away from it. Let's hear it. All right, this is the beginning of the Wallach video of his tiny, tiny, tiny hotel room in Paris.
This is the hotel room. That's it. The hotel room.
All right, again from the beginning, please. Be very quiet.
This is the hotel room.
It's almost like a glottal
That's
stop.
it. The hotel room.
I'll give you just that beginning one more time. Here you go.
He's got some cheese lodged in his...
He's got a little worm wiggling its way down his gullet.
Can I have the whole thing one more time?
Yes, certainly. Here we go.
This is the hotel room. That's it. The hotel room.
So he sounds like a man nervous for the first time who's ordered an escort. And he's like trying to find himself time. Here we are.
That's good.
Gonna do the deed. There's a bed. This is the hotel room. Welcome to the hotel room. My name's John. This is the hotel.
Bonjour, mon chéri. This is my stabbing cabin.
There's the door. We just walk through it.
There's a powder room where you can freshen up. All right. I will be on this tiny, it's not a queen size, it's a full-size bed waiting for you.
And my sons are next door.
In a very small room,
Yes.
smaller than this even.
It does sound like a guy who is making a social media video for the first time also. Well, this is the hotel room. Where's the punchline? Nope. That's it. That's what
Just repeat.
No, that's what you got.
material.
Loop it. 8 seconds. Get out. All right. So you think we should? So if I were to draft first tomorrow, would I be picking 2 people? Is that what you're saying?
I think so. And you could cross shows. You could, again, stick with the pairings. Like, I think Felger leaves Mats completely alone, and he's on his own. He thinks this is, I'm going to go, I'm going to fight dirty, I'm going to do this on my own.
Okay.
Like, I don't think they would be high on your big board, to steal a phrase. I think you got to pick pairs, because there's enough people in the building, enough shows to pick pairs from. You could do part-timers. Like, we'll have them on in a little bit. I want to know where Barth's big board is here. But pairs is where I would start.
Okay. Not bad. RJ?
See, kind of in that vein, like I would go even bigger and say, like, I would put the entire
Whole
shows
show
up against each other. Like, producers have to enter into the equation.
Oh, if Jay Stu is not on the board to be selected in some way, shape, or form, then we're just doing it wrong. I mean, and again, some pre-draft analysts have him ranked as high as 3rd in terms of people you would pick in a battle to the death, which seems silly unless you know anything about Jay Stu, and then it sounds perfectly plausible.
So you've already got some rankings written down.
I don't. The draft nerds do.
Oh, okay.
They've been working on this.
Yeah, they've been watching film for months.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask for like a top 2, bottom 3, a peek at this. If you have any big board consensus, big board.
Right now, size seems to be dominating. So for that very reason, Scott Zolak is ranked very, very highly in the draft in the Sports Hub battles to the death. People just like the 6'5", spastic. He's really he checks a lot of boxes for somebody who might get out of control and take things too far.
Size, strength, and crazy factor.
Yes.
Like all entered into the equation.
And used to get hit for a living. Like before quarterbacks were protected, he was in the mid-90s.
All of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
he's atop my big board.
he's ranked very highly. Oddly enough, the man we just heard from, John Wallach, he's got a chance to be Mr. Irrelevant here. I just there's not a lot of faith or belief that he is going to be with you until the very end. He might just skedaddle on out of the ring or the fighting area, so to speak, just because he wants nothing to do with it.
So I don't know, because I poo-pooed it earlier, but like there might be a pent-up rage factor. Like he might be a sleeper in that you get that man and his job is only to survive. It's not to make friends. It's not to do updates. It's not to keep going. I don't know. There's a little something in there I don't think we've seen yet from Wallach.
So this gives us some direction, and I think what today's post-show meeting is mostly going to be about is putting together the list of people who have declared for the draft. And simply by working here, you have declared for the draft. People on the board, the number of people that we come up with versus the number of people who will be drafting will help us determine if we're picking in 1s, 2s, or 3s or whatever. And that way, because obviously we want, the same number of people on each team by the time we get done drafting. But I think I like the 2x2 thing. You get to pick a pair each time you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is productive.
All right, good. I'm glad we got it done. Mike Reese will be joining us next. That other draft is happening this week, the NFL draft. So we'll talk with him about that and all things Patriots and NFL next here on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Shedeur Sanders at 3. Do I think it's happening? It doesn't sound like it, but I don't think it can be dismissed. And I know J-Mac brought up the possibility of the Saints, and it would make a lot of sense.
It's Toucher and Hardy without Fred, without Wallach, but Andrew Callahan is here, Ryan Johnston is here, and now Mike Reese is here. He is ESPN's NFL Nation reporter covering the Patriots, but he knows what's going on. Hey, Mike, you got a handle on what's going on around the National Football League, am I right?
Good morning, Hardy, Andrew, Ryan. Great to talk with you. I hope so, Hardy.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out exactly what you know. Have you heard of this Shedeur Sanders guy? There's some people saying he may not be all that after all.
Heard of him.
Okay. All right. No, we're not going to.
His number got retired. How could he not be all of that?
We're not going to talk Shedeur Sanders right away. But for all of the talk for months and months and months now leading up to this draft, is it not more falling into place and looking more likely every single day that Will Campbell will be selected 4th overall by the Patriots?
So Hardy, if you were asking me what I think will happen, that's what I would say I think will happen. But I still leave open the possibility that there's other avenues that could happen from a standpoint of you get on the clock and maybe a team hasn't tipped its hand yet that wants to come up and trade for the pick. So that's one part of it. And I think that as much as Will Campbell fits their program, their culture, and he is what I think will ultimately happen, I don't think he's the only one. And so I am still feeling a level of intrigue that we're not necessarily at this point on Tuesday morning at 7:27 that we can lock in and say it's definitely this. I'm not there yet myself.
All right.
So who are the other names then? I'm with you, Mike, and I think Will Campbell will be the pick, and it would be silly of us to not leave ourselves open to a surprise. But judging by the pregnant pauses in your voice, someone who knows how much to say and sometimes how much not to say, are there a couple names that would follow Will Campbell in your rankings of likely Patriots pick if it's not Campbell at 4?
Yeah, so Andrew, I think Jalen Walker from Georgia would be the other one, probably a shorter list. I think in a lot of ways, he's the Will Campbell of the defense for me relative to the Patriots. A very good pass rusher, but also has questions. Like we have questions about Will Campbell and the arm length discussion that we've had, right, over the last 2 months. People say with Walker, what's his position? Is he tall enough? It's sort of, to me, the same question on the defensive side because he also, like Will Campbell, fits like a glove relative to the culture and the program, right? So either one of those, I think, would be great. And I think the other piece is the trade down, Andrew. Like we're looking at this through the lens of the number 4 pick. Well, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of teams that want to come up to number 4. How many times have we seen over past years that all it takes is one, right? That we don't know, that's laying in the weeds, that offers the Patriots a package to move back a little bit. And then all of a sudden you're opening it up to I guess a wider number of players.
All right. What's the most likely scenario, though, that would result in somebody offering the Patriots to move up at this, late juncture here? So now we're getting down into the, the days where, teams actually make these calls and they start talking about, moving up, moving down. This is when it starts to happen and then really happens night before, day of, in the moment. What's the most likely scenario? Because right now I just can't see it. I can't see somebody dropping that someone else behind you needs, that somebody else is able to convince themselves, okay, we need that number 4 pick. We need to move up and get who? How does that play out, Mike?
Hardy, I think it probably goes to what you talked about at the start of this with Shedeur. Is there a team that feels strongly enough? Because usually it's a quarterback, right, that a team's coming up for. Doesn't feel that way, right? But maybe there's the Saints situation with Derek Carr has created a level of urgency. Or maybe there's another team that we don't see that feels strongly enough to want to move up and part with an asset like a first-round pick next year that would make the Patriots, that would entice the Patriots to want to move out of that spot.
Okay. Go ahead, Andrew.
I'll give you one more. And this just hit me because Mason Graham is a player that I've seen a lot, Mike, mock to the Jaguars at 5. And mock's obviously grain of salt. But he's also a consensus top 4, top 5 player in this draft. So if you're a team like the Jets who are at 7 and could use a defensive tackle help and say, hey, we'll give our 3rd-round pick, which works out with the trade charts. We'll come up to 4 to leap the Jaguars, because that's why you would move up. The Jaguars are not going to take a quarterback. The Raiders are not going to take a quarterback. What would they take? I see a Mason Graham or Ashton Genty, all of this being very unlikely. But those are 2 players that I think if someone's going to come up, it would be for 2 guys who are universally ranked as being worthy of the number 4 pick as opposed to a Campbell or a Shador.
I like it, Andrew. And also, I guess you put the Ashton Genty in there, right? Because I think when we look at where he might land and trying to focus on, I think he just said yesterday, he felt like 6 to 12 was his range. 6 to the Raiders, correct me if I'm wrong. He visited them. So maybe if a team feels strongly, I love this point, talking about this draft, it's a little bit of a different draft than past years. You get past Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and there's a little bit of a question as to who's next. Someone feels like Genty's part of that group, which is possible. Maybe they do feel strongly enough to want to move up there.
Yeah, I think, though, we've been conditioned so much over the years that the running back position specifically is something that you can fix a lot of ways, or you can find a lot of different ways of incorporating a running back or finding a running back in unlikely places. And unless you're convinced that Genty or anyone else is some kind of generational talent, then how do you make that move when there are so many other options? And quite frankly, there are so many other ways to win in the NFL without having a suitable or readily identifiable running game. This last Super Bowl champion being the noteworthy exception. But beyond that, how many times, how often do we end up talking about running backs at the very end of the season of being the primary reason why somebody made it to the Super Bowl or even won the Super Bowl? And that's the hurdle you got to get over, I think, if you're talking about drafting a running back that high, or certainly even moving up to do it.
Yeah, I think that's you mentioned Saquon. That's one point that people make. I've heard the Jahmyr Gibbs comparison, the idea that, the way they paired him up with your team, Hardy, right? The Lions, sort of the 1-2 punch. They drafted him in the 1st round. And if I remember when they drafted him and Campbell, the linebacker, I think they got dinged a little bit, right? During the draft or after they did it, the idea being, they sort of picked positions that weren't the highest value. Worked out fairly well for them. Obviously not the end result they wanted. So I think that's the pushback for those that would say, you know what, I know running back traditionally isn't the position to go for, but those are 2 that you could look at and say, that's a reason to do it.
Mike, part of the issue there, I'm sorry, Andrew, part of the issue there, too, is the longevity of the position. Running backs don't tend to last as long as quarterbacks, tackles. If you're drafting that high in the draft, I want a guy who's going to be, a stalwart of my franchise for the next 10 years, and running backs generally don't do that.
That's right, Ryan. And I think the other thing specific to this draft is that the class of running backs is considered very deep. And so part of the decision you're making if you're going to take a back up high is, do we think we can get someone even later in the draft that it maybe isn't as good, but not that far off? And I think if you're looking for a back in this draft, that's part of the conversation. And specific to the Patriots, I always like to try to turn it back to them. I do think they're looking for that passing back type. When you think about Kevin Falk, Shane Vereen, James White over the years, maybe trying to get back to that to pair with Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. Maybe they can get one of those guys in the mid rounds.
Mike, I want to go back to Will Campbell because if I know you like I think I do, reading through the Reese's pieces, I think you're like me in that I don't have a wholehearted endorsement of Will Campbell if he is the pick at number 4. Am I right? Your personal endorsement is not there for Will Campbell.
So Andrew, I would be fine with it in this draft because I think that's the whole context of the discussion to me. In a normal draft at number 4, I'd love to be able to say you're getting a franchise left tackle or a number 1 receiver or a shutdown corner. I just don't think that that's this draft. So honestly, if they pick Will Campbell at 4, I think it's fine because whether he plays tackle or guard, I think that might be the best you can do in this draft.
So I'm with you there. The reason I bring it up is because you mentioned earlier the idea of, if you don't go Will Campbell at 4, there are other ways to address left tackle, which is the big black hole problem they cannot solve. And I've become increasingly of the belief, and you don't have to say yes or no to this part, but discuss more of the other options. Even if they take Will Campbell at 4, the idea that they could trade back into the first round for a Josh Connerly or Josh Simmons, prototypical left tackles, really appeals to me. Maybe even a double dip. Because if there's anything we know about the team, the starting caliber tackles are not there, and neither is the depth. Is that what you were thinking when you mentioned there are other ways to address the position, trade up, and would you endorse a double dip?
Yeah, 100%, Andrew. On both of those things, I think the risk on that, and I'm sure you've done this too, like with mock drafts and simulations, you just got to hope those guys you're planning on trading back in for are there.
Right.
I think the tackles are going to go fast. And so you run the risk of, okay, if we're going to take Will Campbell at 4 and he's ultimately a guard, are you okay with possibly having Vidarian Lowe or Caden Wallace as your left tackle if the Campbell thing at tackle doesn't work out? Because there's no guarantee you can definitely fill that hole. I guess I look at it this way, and I think I'm in the minority, Andrew. Whether Campbell's a guard or a tackle, he's going to be one of your top 5. And if you can lock that in this draft, and I'm going to keep saying that, in this draft, I think that's the best you can do. And if he's a top guard, I actually don't see that as being a bad thing because I think pressure up the middle is equally as important as pressure on the outside. So I guess what I'm saying, Andrew, is like I value guard as much as I do tackle, even at number 4 in this draft.
Okay. So if we can just branch out here for a second, get back to the running back and receiver discussion here, and the idea of a pass catching back would be wonderful. If you're looking at some more creative ways of protecting Drake May, which is my number 1 priority with this draft, or helping Drake May, I don't want things screwed up for him because he does seem to identify as, the biggest asset this team has for future years. Outside of left tackle, what would you rank as the best thing you could get for Drake May right now in terms of, let's just say, a creative way of helping him and protecting him? Is it another receiver? Is it a running back? Is it a pass catching back? What would be what would be on your wish list outside of that identifiable, yep, that guy's a starting left tackle, that's the most obvious need? If you can have that, what would you like to have most next?
Hardy.
First of all, I can hear the sides like Hardy. It's such a good question. And it was so thoughtfully proposed that wow.
That's right.
So take a moment, take a beat if you need it, and then answer.
So Hardy, my first thought is, as much as I love the number 1 receiver, again, in this draft, this is not like Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 4. It's just not. That's not what this draft is. So I would actually tell you, if you come out of the draft with a tackle and a guard, that would probably be, for me, the top thing. And then keep working for, not keep working, but that would be it. Let me just stop right there. Tackle and a guard.
So nothing else. All right. No. It's a fine question. It's an honest answer. I mean, it's a fine answer and an honest answer. It's just not very sexy. As much as they need one, You want me to get all bunged up?
Are you saying Mike Reese is not sexy enough for you, Hardy?
No, the offensive line talk in general is the least sexy thing on the planet.
I think he's bringing it. I think John Wallach would be introducing Mike Reese to his hotel room the way that things are going with these picks.
I want to get with Reese. It's just the offensive line thing is not what I'm necessarily down with.
Yeah.
Okay.
And guys, just one other thing on that. I actually feel in this draft, we obviously spend most of the time talking about number 4. This draft is probably more about volume for the Patriots and trying to find starters 38, 69, 77.
Yep.
That's probably the most important part of the draft. And so I guess when I answered your question, Hardy, I'm thinking about 4 and, the next pick. But they got 9 picks. If they can get 3-4 starters, that's what this draft is.
So I'm glad you brought up day 2, Mike, because I think that is what will ultimately make or break the draft. It's very likely the reaction to number 4 is going to be what you just said. Lowercase f, fine. Give me some day 2 guys that you either see as a fit, have heard are a fit, that might even overlap with Hardy's question about running backs and receivers.
Yeah, so we talked about trading back in if on the tackle thing. So like the Josh Connerly, I mean, I know this is a pipe dream, Andrew, but if you were to do Campbell Connerly, you might have just reshaped the left side of your line. And I think that would be incredible investment in Drake May. I'd also not look over defensive tackle. Like they want to play with rotation and waves. So you love Milton Williams in there. You're hoping Christian Barmore can be in there. That's a great start. Who else do you have? Talked about Joshua Farmer of Florida State in a recent column that I wrote in terms of maybe in that 3rd round range. Trevor Etienne, the pass catching running back, Hardy, to your point about building around Drake May. Well, I'd start with the offensive line. Maybe that's a mid-round guy, Andrew, that I would look to.
All right. Mike Reese, appreciate the time as always, buddy. Thank you. Have fun this week.
Awesome. Hardy, Andrew, Ryan, great being with you. Have a great rest of the show.
All right. Appreciate it.
See you Thursday, buddy.
And one more thing I want to get with you a little bit later. We're going to have Barth in here too. Didn't get a chance to ask Reese. Anything defensively this team is still looking to do because they've done so much in the offseason. But so we're talking about receivers, we're talking about backs, we're talking about Will Campbell and offensive line. They could just blow up all this talk and make it completely inconsequential by ending up with 3 defensive players by the end of the weekend. And I'd be like, they're going to try and win every game 6-2.
But, I'm so glad Reese repeated that over and over again for this draft because we have to remember that they can only pick the players that are available. If you want to reach, congrats. You might have a draft like last year. Jalen Polk, then Caden Wallace. We saw how that went last year. This is going to the grocery store, getting a list from your wife, and you have to make the unfortunate call. Hey, they're out of offensive tackles or receivers. Do you want something else? Whatever the best available is, it's just what this draft is. I do think, because Barth and I did this on my podcast actually last week, we did their most likely picks, like the players that would have the best odds, not just at 4, any round as far as fits. And I know my first 3 players that I said are most likely to be Patriots by the end of the draft were all on defense.
Wow.
Can I just give you a real quick story idea?
Oh, yeah.
In preparation for the draft.
5 seconds.
I haven't seen anybody yet interview Will Campbell's suit maker to find out how he can make a suit with that short an arm.
Okay, that is unnecessary, Ryan. And for that, now you have to do all the work next. Okay? Because that was unkind and unfair.
What? I've just been hearing this guy's got really short arms.
And now we are going to get inside your head because you are the voice of the Bruins, and we are going to, what did we decide this name was?
We got to Inside Bruins with RJ.
What's brewing?
What's brewing? That's what we're doing.
Will
next.
Campbell, the T-Rex once dominated and ruled planet Earth. Why can't Will Campbell play left tackle?
What's brewing?
T-Rex didn't have to block the Brontosaurus.
What's brewing with Ryan Johnston happens next. Stay with us.
Essential.
Toucher and Hardy, no Fred, no Wallach, Andrew Callahan, and more importantly for this segment right here, Ryan Johnston is here so we can find out what's going on with your Boston Bruins and something that we are going to call
Bruins and Ruins.
What?
Team misses playoffs for the first time in 9 years. The final moments before disaster struck.
That will mercifully bring this one to a close.
And fans demand an apology. What will happen to the original 6 franchise? Now, Inside Bruins with Ryan Johnston.
What is demand? I heard the word demand in there, as in you demand.
You're gonna focus on that one little hiccup and not really celebrate the gravitas that Nick brought to that piece of production. Come on, man.
Demand.
Yeah.
As fans demand.
You demand, Hardy.
As fans demand enunciation of consonants. Demand. Nick. Demand. Can you have him just on mic for a second? I
Yeah,
just
sure.
want to hear
Come
him
on
say
over,
the word
Nick.
demand.
He
Thank
would like you
Nick.
to say the word demand.
Demand.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
It was probably cut off in editing.
Yeah. Not to be confused with the Morning Brew, which is BRU. This is Inside Bruins, or what I would like to call What's Brewing, BRUIN apostrophe. So what's brewing now with Ryan Johnston as the season is over? Other teams are still playing hockey, not your Boston Bruins. Ryan, what happened? What happened with your Boston Bruins this year?
They weren't as good as the 16 teams that are still playing.
Scoreboard, I know.
Yeah.
You're a big fan.
Yeah. They didn't win quite enough games to get into the postseason.
Why did they not win enough games?
Boy, how long you got? I mean, there's a laundry
4
list.
minutes.
I'm not sure we can cover it in 4 minutes. There's a laundry list of reasons. You know what? Team wasn't as good defensively as you thought. Team wasn't as good in goal as we thought. Team didn't score as many goals as we thought. I mean, it was an odd season from the very beginning. Lots been talked about here in the last few weeks. A lot was talked about at the beginning of the season about how training camp was kind of disjointed. Guys were hurt. Swayman was sitting out. Never really from opening night. I remember watching that game down in Florida on opening night, and kind of Beersy and I are looking at each other like, this is not the team that we expected to see. Like defensive mistakes, and they were kind of back on their heels against Florida, and they're running around trying to settle scores that really didn't necessarily needed to be settled at that particular moment.
Why is that guy mad at that guy?
Right. It's like
I don't even remember. Is it important right now, guys?
But it wasn't long into the season where you kind of felt like this is not what we expected to see, and a lot of it came out of it defensively.
Yeah, and look, you fire the coach, you trade the captain. I don't know that there are two bigger moves that you can make until you wait till the offseason, which is now here. So if you can spin it forward, give me some hope as a casual Bruins fan that, look, like Jeremy Swayman instantly did not look like he was worth that contract. Right. Do you expect him to improve? What's available to them now aside from I hope the current guys just get better?
Well, that number one is he will play better than he played this year. I think the team in front of him will be better, and that will be a big part of it. But we've seen a large enough sample size from Jeremy Swayman to know that he's a better goalie than we saw out of him this year. So that's number one. And listen, for all the static that he takes, he's owned up to that. He does it in his own inimitable way. Some of the things that he says, but I don't know how many times he said this year that he needed to be better. So he understands that. Elias Lindholm knows that he needs to be better, needs to produce more than he did this year. So that's part of it. They have almost $30 million of cap space to spend this offseason. You would hope that they will take a big swing in trying to bring in not just free agents, but use some of the draft capital that they've got here, flip some guys, some of that to bring in NHL ready talent. I know inside the organization they believe that they should be a playoff team next year. So this is not
what's brewing.
This is not a 2, 3, 4 year rebuild that they're looking at. They want to, when they say retool, they mean, they need to be in the playoffs next season.
What's brewing with
Okay.
Ryan Johnston?
Thank you. How big of a mistake was it to fire Jim Montgomery, or do you think it was a mistake to move on from Jim Montgomery as early as they did?
I don't think it was a mistake. I really don't. Listen. Was he the cause of their problems?
What's brewing?
No, he wasn't. And I think we can understand that now after we saw the last 62 games of the season. But I don't know that he was helping matters a whole lot. I think,
Would it have helped to actually extend his contract earlier on so that he wasn't a lame duck coach and there was this, just adding to this disjointedness coming out of camp, not having Swayman there. You don't have a coach who's on the hook for longer than this season. Things start to fall apart like, Montgomery's got to go.
So I believe Ty Anderson I was the one who reported early in the season after Montgomery was gone that he was looking for like top 5 coach in the league type of money. And had he earned that here? I mean, during the regular season he had, but during the postseason he really hadn't. So, if there was a disjoint over years and term and money, I'm not surprised that it came to that point. Listen, I think he's a good coach. I think he's showing that in St. Louis that he's a good coach. But I think there were also some potential issues between he and the front office here that just couldn't be overcome.
What's brewing with Ryan Johnston?
Okay, thank you, Nick. Thank you. We'll do a little bit more of this later on and a little bit more tomorrow, but I can't get past the fact that their last 2 coaches have now gone on to success with other teams. Jim Montgomery, most recently, who is now in St. Louis, presumably happy as a clam, and maybe that was part of the problem, that he just wanted out anyway, and things were not getting along. But the other thing I want to get to again later, and maybe tomorrow, is the quote-unquote news from the Bruins last week, which seemed oddly unnewsworthy. When the owners had their statement about the team and about the state of things, and I wasn't all that moved by it. Am I wrong to feel that there wasn't a lot of meat on that bone in the aftermath?
Well, what were you hoping to hear out of that? I mean, they're not happy with where the team is right now, and they expect that there's going to be some changes and some turnover in the organization, but it's not starting at with the management. Over the long term, management has done a good job here. Yes, there are have been issues with drafting, but your team is in the Stanley Cup conversation on an annual basis right up until this year. So, are you going to give them the opportunity to try and dig out of this hole? They had made that determination certainly before the trade deadline, because you don't trade your captain and major parts of your team and give the general manager and the team president that power if they're not going to be around to help rebuild after that.
I don't know. I would.
What's brewing?
Nick, man, just the timing and pronunciation.
We got to go. We got to jump.
Okay.
All right.
I'll save it for later.
Save it for later, okay? Unless you want to eat into 2 stats in 1 lie. That's all you're doing right now.
You mean 2 guys in 1 lie? Draft season, baby.
I didn't know it was going to be sexy. Okay, 2 guys, 1 lie.
Is one of them Will Campbell's arm length more than 18 inches?
I can't talk about that anymore. I'm sorry. That man's arms have meant too much to my career for the last 3 months. I'm done.
2 guys in 1 lie will be happening next year with Andrew Callahan and RJ and Toucher and Hardy this morning on the Sports Hub. Hold on.
More Toucher and Hardy next on the Sports Hub.
All right, Blue Chew, you know what it is by now.
champion Boston Celtics are looking for number 19.
Tatum pull it out.
Hear every playoff game right here. Your home for Boston Celtics basketball. WBZ FM and HD1 Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Walker Buehler went 7 innings, struck out 9. Red Sox a 4-2 win over the White Sox at Fenway to wrap up their 4-game series yesterday. The Sox open up a 3-game series against Seattle tonight. Brian Bayo will be on the mound for the first time this season. Another off day for the Celtics. 1 game to none lead in their best-of-7 series with Orlando. Game 2 not till tomorrow night at TD Garden. Last night in the NBA, the Pistons won their first playoff game since 2008. Beating the Knicks to even that series of game apiece. Clippers top Denver. That series now tied at 1. In the NHL playoffs, Alex Ovechkin scores the overtime game winners. Washington beat Montreal 3-2 in game 1. LA Kings blew a 4-goal lead, still ended up beating the Oilers 6-5 in game 1 of that series. Winnipeg has a 2-games to none lead over St. Louis after a victory last night, and Dallas tied up their series with Colorado with a 4-3 win at home last night in overtime. Sharon Lucchetti, John Creer, your winners of the 129th Boston Marathon yesterday. Headlines are brought to you by Eastern Mass's leader in drain cleaning and pipelining, Drains by James. Slow drain, clogged drain? You need to contact Drains by James today at drainsbyjames.com. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in about a half hour.
This is Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown turns the corner. Finger roll is up and good. Scored in the foul.
Listen to home of the Boston Celtics, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Dutcher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
Andrew has 2 stats, but he has just 1 lie. Andrew has 2 stats, but he has just 1 lie.
We didn't have time to make a new intro for this, so for, I guess, just historical purposes and archiving purposes, it will still be called 2 stats and 1 lie.
Sure.
But Andrew Callahan today has come armed with something different. RJ, you've been in here for this game before.
I don't think I ever have played 2 stats and a lie.
Have you heard it?
I hear it every week during the season.
My man.
There you go. And thank you for the lie. Now, you're not listening every single week.
To Andrew's segment? Yeah.
Just this one segment you have? Okay, good.
I put you guys on. I watch the YouTube in the hotel rooms on the road all the time.
Oh, God bless you. You know what? You do comment a lot to me, either, privately I'll hear from you or I'll see tweets from you more likely about things that are going on in the show. So
you guys are on when I'm at home, and even when my wife's at home, like by herself. Like we are regular viewers of the show on YouTube every morning, and then when I'm on the road, little slice of home.
You know what? I'm going to choose to believe you, and I thank you.
I'm being completely truthful. I've been a big fan of the show.
For your avid viewer and listenership. Well, you're a part of the show. You are a part of the show here, which means that you already know this is the song we prefer.
Let's do this. It takes 2 steps from the other night, and one might see if you can get it right. It takes 2 steps from the other night.
All right, so Fred is not here to make a mess of this, as he really still
Never
doesn't
really understands the rules.
Doesn't quite get he gets so inside the facts and trying to determine, the stat that he will oftentimes identify the lie, but name a stat instead, and we don't quite know why. But there will be 2 statistics in here and 1 lie. It is our job, Ryan, you and I, to determine which is the lie. Okay? So.
Yes.
Andrew, what do you got for us?
Today we have an NFL Draft Edition.
Okay.
I teased the last segment. 2 guys, 1 lie. I have 2 real NFL draft prospects here highlighted. I will give you their names, how tall they are, how much they weigh, their 40 times. I will also give you a fake prospect. So 2 of these are real. 1 of them is fake. 2 guys, 1 lie.
Got it.
Hardy, as a fellow veteran of weekend sports talk on this station for many years,
yes.
Have you ever experienced the phenomena of somebody calling in and bringing up a fake prospect to the table? Like,
oh, no, but you're going to give me, anxiety thinking about that.
Because I know it has happened on one of my shows in the past where somebody called in and was like, "Oh, we should take the Patriots ought to be looking at this guy," and it was like his friend from Franklin, Mass. Or whatever.
Sure. I mean, that is the nightmare that you just go along with it.
Yeah, you just go, yeah, sure. And of course they would take that guy. Who wouldn't?
But, the real nightmare is, I've seen it. I've heard of this guy. I've heard something about it just to try and go along and help out, and it's made up. Ugh.
That's all Barth does. We're having him on later. I think the jig should be up by now. That's all he does for 3 months.
You think he's just making up
making
somebody's
it all
names?
up all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right,
we ready?
Yes.
Prospect number 1.
Yeah.
Tiger Shanks, offensive tackle, UNLV.
That's a lie.
6'5", 311 pounds.
No. Tiger Shanks.
5.3240.
No.
His middle name is King, which makes him Tiger King Shanks.
No.
Born to a Chinese male model, he has lived in Canada, China, and the U.S.
No. This can't be a guy.
Hardy's locked in. He received an 88 overall rating in NCAA Football 2024, the video game. You ready?
Tiger King Shanks.
Tiger King Shanks, offensive tackle, UNLV, 6'5", 311 pounds, ran a 5.32 40, born to a Chinese male model, lived in Canada, the U.S., of course, China.
And ended up at UNLV where they're, oh, man, damn it. Damn it. It sounds like UNLV guy, though.
Feels like Fred's here in spirit through you. I don't know like this.
Okay,
if this is how we're doing after prospect number 1. Prospect number 2, Jaquay Wiggles, wide receiver, Chattanooga. 6 foot tall, 171 pounds, runs a 4.54 40. His first name, spelled all the way out, is Jaquan Trees. He's a distant descendant of George Washington Carver.
Come on.
And in an interview during the draft process admitted he's never seen the children's show The Wiggles.
I was going to say, but ironically, allergic to peanut butter, which would be...
Couldn't find that out.
No, okay.
Jaquay Wiggles, wide receiver, Chattanooga, 6 foot tall, 171 pounds, runs a 4.54 40. First name fully spelled out, Jaquan Trees. Distant descendant of George Washington Carver, has never seen the children's show The Wiggles.
All right, let's get some more music going.
Drew's got 2 stats, baby, but only 1 lie, maybe. 2 stats, 1 lie.
All right, so far,
Won't you give it a try.
So far we have Tiger
King Shanks.
Tiger King Shanks and Guy Wiggles.
Jaquan Trees Wiggles.
Oh, I just put a guy. Jaquan Tree Wiggles.
Wide receiver, Chattanooga.
Distant relation to George Washington Carver.
Yes.
Okay.
Prospect number 3. Parker Titsworth. Center. Ryan's got such a great laugh. I didn't know that until now, so I'm cracking up, which makes me look like I'm cracking during the game. Parker Titsworth, center from Ohio, 5'11", 288 pounds, runs a 5.26 40. Parker Titsworth wears the number 69.
Of course he does.
He recently shut down his website, titsworth69.com, and he shares a hometown with Christina Aguilera.
Okay.
Can you give his measurements again?
Sure. 5'11", 288, runs a 5.26 40, center out of Ohio. Mr. Titsworth.
He's built like not even a soup can, like a tuna can. 5'11", 288? There's no way. I only got one guy here. Jaquan Wiggles is the only guy. What is again? It's 2 guys.
I'll read them all quickly.
No. Yeah,
only one of them is fake, Hardy.
Only one of them is fake.
I'm going a little Fred here. Only one is fake.
2 guys, 1 lie.
All right,
so 2 are real prospects here. Tiger Shanks, Jaquay Wiggles, Jaquan Trees Wiggles, or Parker Titsworth.
The 5'11", 288 guy.
You think that's the fake guy?
Okay. Again, Andrew has to come up with some creative writing here. All right? So this is how I'm going to workshop this in my own head. I think that he would realize that a guy with the last name Titsworth and making him 5'11", 288 is too obvious. He's not going to do that. It's too nutty. So for some reason, this is an actual guy.
What position does he play?
Center.
He's a center. Okay.
Wide receiver. So Parker Titsworth is a guy because Andrew would not creatively come up with that name and make him 5'11", 288. It's too obvious.
Where 69 recently shut down his website, titsworth69.com.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all too nutty, and you would not do that.
I feel like you could sell that website.
It's too obvious. That for some reason, this is a guy that exists, and he actually had the website. Sure. Yes, that's a guy. I can't get past Tiger King Shanks. Also,
it feels too made up, but that's I think part of the trick here.
Sounds like a wrestler from like an NES game, like some NES wrestling game.
Right.
Tiger King Shanks.
Choose your fighter.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, if Tiger Woods wasn't already a guy, then you would make somebody called Tiger Shanks like a terrible golfer in a video game. Like Glass Joe. I mean, Shank is a bad thing to do on the golf course. Tiger Shanks.
Right. And then to roll in Tiger King on top of that.
I'm sticking with my gut on this. I don't think that Tiger Shanks is a guy. I think Jaquantri Wiggles is a guy, and I think Parker Titsworth is a guy. I'm going with Tiger Shanks is the lie. I'm locked in on Tiger Shanks being the lie.
I'm gonna go with Wiggles being the lie.
Jaquantri Wiggles.
Yes.
All right, but so Andrew just invented this name.
Yes.
He invented the descendant of George Washington Carver. Can you give his...
That's a very specific, like, being a descendant of a distant descendant of George Washington Carver is a very specific biographical piece.
What are his positions and measurables again?
So he's a receiver out of Chattanooga, 6 foot flat, 171 pounds, ran a 4.54 40. Jaquan Trees is the full name, but they call him Jaquet.
You can take him as the lie, but I'm telling you that's a guy.
I like RJ's reasoning on that, and I don't know if this was another place your brain went on this, Ryan, but like it's almost like the least silly.
Yes.
Right? So
Wiggles?
It's kind of,
yes.
Yes, but I mean, let's look at the Tiger King Shanks and Titsworth, there. I think if you're doing a silly ranking, I think Mr. Wiggles ends up in third place. But I that's where
like
my brain would go,
like,
Ryan, if I were playing, is to go to like,
right.
He seems like the realest guy, so maybe he's the fake, he's the lie.
Right. So clearly, you're trying to sneak that one in under the radar.
I'm not budging. I'm not budging.
You're sticking with Tiger Shanks?
You want a shot at it? 12?
No, because I would probably just go the same route that RJ did.
All right, I'm going with Tiger Shanks is the lie. RJ says Jaquantri Wiggles is the lie.
Brian Johnston, first time, long time. He's 1-0.
Oh.
Yeah! Jaquay Wiggles is fake.
Come on.
Not a receiver from Chattanooga, not related to George Washington Carver. There is a player in this draft with the last name Wiggles. But I have to tell you, Hardy, look, I got Fred a Joe Milton jersey that did not exist until I spoke that into existence. We can make Tiger Shanks happen, and you can wear it on the course. He played right tackle at UNLV. He's one of the best offensive tackles in college football, according to the Prominent Video Game last year. And he did live in Canada, China, the U.S., the son of a Chinese male model who chose the middle name King well before the Tiger King documentary hit Netflix and our hearts.
Oh my God! Off the Tiger Shanks because of the UNLV thing, and I should have gone down that road a little bit more, but I didn't, so I screwed it up.
Andrew's got 2 stats. Andrew's got 2 stats, but he's got 1 lie. He's got 1 lie. Andrew's got 2 stats. Andrew's got 2 stats, but he's got 1 lie. He's got 1 lie.
Well done.
Do you want to see his
Andrew.
picture?
I want to see like a full photo of Parker Titsworth, the 5'11", 288 guy. I want to see what that guy looks like, even as a center. That's impressively stout.
Coming right up.
Okay. We have some NBA nuggets to get to, including a Shaquille O'Neal story. That just makes me question about the wonders of modern plumbing.
Check out these tits worth.
Why did he shut the website down?
I think he wants to get drafted.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that's it.
They sold merch.
All right, well done, Andrew. Thank you for that. Congratulations, RJ, for the win. Yes, what's going on with Shaquille O'Neal and in the NBA? We will find out momentarily here on Toucher and Hardy.
Stay tuned for more Touch.
wearing an Atlantis hoodie today. Do you miss Fred that much that you're rocking the Atlantis?
Yeah,
hoodie?
he's paying tribute as Fred rides water slides.
And John Wallach sending out videos of his obscenely small hotel room in Paris.
How come nobody here is wearing like a Seattle Kraken or a Montreal Expos hat in tribute to Wallach being gone?
Or some odd...
Fresno State?
Yeah.
This is the hotel room. That's it. The hotel room.
It's riveting. You know what? Maybe Wallach needs to help out Nick with some of the videos that...
Put it in a song or something like that.
Oh,
wait, you know what it is, Hardy? It's Chris Rock's No Sex in the Champagne Room.
Yeah.
we gotta work the hotel room into that.
That's not bad.
All right.
Okay. I'll work on that.
Here we are, the hotel room.
Let's get to our NBA notes here as Nico Harrison admitted to something or tried to sell us on the idea of something having to do with the Dallas Mavericks and the moves that they made this season.
I did know that Luka was important to the fan base.
Stop right there. Now, I heard this the first time, and I tried to convince myself he's saying I did know.
He did. Play it forward.
I did know.
Yes.
Okay, because it sounds like didn't.
No, it's the second part of what he's about to say.
So he does say I did know.
Yes.
I did know that Luka was important to the fan base.
Okay, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. No, it sounds like didn't. Let's just say he's saying I did know, because it actually makes the rest of this make more sense. If he starts off by saying I did know that Luka was important to the fan base, fine, we'll grant you that. What else do you have to say?
I didn't quite know it to what level, but really the way we looked at it is, if you're putting a team on the floor that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, we feel that's a championship caliber team, and we would have been winning at a high level, and that would have quieted some of the outrage.
Okay. So again, in context, just the first 8 seconds again.
I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level.
Okay. I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't know to what level.
Yeah, we knew they liked him, but who really thought they loved him?
This is insane.
It's I don't know what you say to that. The 5-time All-Star first team NBA, the guy that got you to the finals last year, the guy who is a generational talent who took the mantle of this team. And Dirk Nowitzki was the guy there for years and years and years, and now you've got seemingly his replacement.
But we still have Kyrie, so
you've got
people love Kyrie the same way, right?
We got a banged up Anthony Davis, who didn't play when he got here after the trade. But what else would one need?
The PR series of missteps since the trade are now at a level that is as dumbfounding as the trade itself. Like before, Nico Harrison just told the fan base, I didn't really know he liked our best player that much. And as someone who's been to Dallas once, covering the finals last year, took a couple walks through a very soulless downtown, the one thing I did see were kids in Luka Doncic jerseys, Luka Doncic on billboards, Luka Doncic everywhere I walked. Okay? If you live there, and if you work for the team and you assemble the roster, you should damn well know that your best player is more popular, in fact, than anyone on the Cowboys.
He's the face of your franchise.
But, it passed his prime and really on the downhill slide because he's how old? How old is Luka Doncic?
Yeah, this is about the future so that we could get older and have two non-shooters on the floor with that very lineup that he just described. By the way, Nico Harrison having a no recorders, no cameras media availability a couple days ago because that'll make things better. Their owner continuing to explain, this is actually better. We improved as a team, even though our title window just shrunk, and we have no draft picks after 2027.
Yeah.
Just stop talking.
Yeah, but
Mavericks don't say a stupid thing for one-day challenge. I would love to see it.
Yeah, but he's going to be fat and out of shape by the time he's 30. So
well, he's already 26 years old,
right?
And we know that NBA players are well past their. Oh wait, you can actually set a timer by these guys hitting their peak at 27, 28. There have been studies done on it. We've seen it here in Boston with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You trade the guy almost exactly a year before his 27th birthday, when he's already the biggest piece and the most important part of your franchise. But you didn't know. You didn't know how important he was to the fan base.
This is an incredible test of what I think in football we can fairly qualify as an addiction. Like, fans ride with whatever team it is through thick and thin, through scandal, through arrests, through some really bad stuff. I think the Mavericks are real risk here of not only just losing money at the door in terms of ticket sales, but long-term investment of buying your kids' jerseys, of carrying on TV, bothering to tune in, bothering to listen to any kind of podcast. Like, people were chanting to fire the GM and cheering for the player that he just traded when Luka came back a couple of weeks ago. Like, the interest in this is no longer, oh, they made the worst trade in NBA history. You're watching a franchise crumble, and the GM actively aid in that crumbling, taking away bricks, melting everything around it because he's just saying dumb things in front of a microphone. But he's still employed.
Still has a job. Charles Barkley here to help, though. He's got some advice for the Mavericks GM, for Nico Harrison.
Listen, man, I consider you a friend of mine, Nico Harrison. Man, don't do no more press conferences.
Yes. Thank you, Charles.
He's got a bit of a Wallach thing at the beginning there. Hold on, wait. I've got Wallach pulled up here too. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I can get that for you too.
Yeah, it's right there at the very beginning. It's a game. Is it Wallach or Barkley?
That's Wallach. They both sound equally disappointed, though. Like, Wallach thinks he's staying in the Nico Harrison of hotel rooms in Paris.
Right. So let's stick with Barkley here.
Just real quick, you know things are going well in your tenure when one of the questions in your press conference is, why should you not be fired right now?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot else to it, but that's worthy of a little explanation here. There was the presser where here I've got the actual question as it's being asked.
Luka comes back to town, the Lakers game's happening, and you're standing there and there's thousands of people chanting for you to be fired. That's an experience that no one's chanting for for us to lose our jobs. Why shouldn't you be fired?
Well, one, I think I've done a really good job here, and I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. You have to judge from totality, from beginning to end.
Can you be judged by the trades this year? That's something that a general manager is responsible for.
Traded one of the best players in the league for nothing.
Then the next bullet point in his argument is, well, we made the finals last year.
Right.
Then, how'd you do that? Oh, we had a top 5 player entering his prime who threatened Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for stretches, and that might have been a 2-2 series, but we didn't need him.
No.
Because defense, Hardy, wins championships. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
I have heard it. I don't know if Nico has heard it.
Never mind, they were a top 10 defense last year after the trade deadline.
He also had not heard to what extent Luka Doncic was important to the fan base. So there's just a lot of stuff that Nico isn't
knew
hearing.
He was important. I didn't think he was that important.
I want to hear this, though. Apparently, just pivoting away from this for a moment, but another friend of Charles Barkley who calls Nico Harrison a friend, I think he calls Shaquille O'Neal a friend. Something happened to Shaq on set.
The other thing about Kawhi is, you all right, big fella? You all right? Catching a crap?
Go ahead. Keep talking, Jeff.
Yeah, we're on TV.
I know what we're doing. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's that olive oil you've been drinking.
I know.
Hey, take some matches with you. Hey, listen, he couldn't hold it. He can't hold it. After 40, he can't hold it.
That's at first.
He can't hold it. Listen, I just hope we got enough matches around here. Please turn his mic off. That's all.
That's another issue.
Hey, somebody go get some lighters. Oh, my God.
All right.
Light a match. Light a fire. Dropping wolf
Just burn the building down.
Which got into just a question in my mind. Does Shaq need special facilities? Like, he is a giant person.
I'm going to guess the Turner building does not have such facilities.
I wouldn't think so unless they were, purposely installed because Shaq is there so often. Like, can he use a normal human person-sized toilet? Can he sit down on it? Can he do what has to be done? And can you imagine?
And can the toilet survive?
Just the volume.
Let's ask the real question. How big is the poop?
Okay.
How big is that poop?
If it's olive oil, then I don't want to get into a discussion of consistencies and things like that. I'm just talking about the actual infrastructure of the building.
No, I'm talking about the weight.
Okay.
Like, are there babies,
the mass,
premature delivered babies that are smaller than whatever Shaq just delivered into that toilet?
I don't know, but I don't know.
What do you think?
I think in his home, he has to have like a special king-size toilet. And I think if he's building a home, he has to have special plumbing.
It's California king toilet.
Is
that
there
thing's
such a
got to
thing?
be like it's got to be like 4 feet off the ground, right?
It has to be. Well, they say that's not good for you. You're actually supposed to, have your feet raised. That's the whole idea behind the squatty potty.
Right.
You're supposed to, have your feet perched up a little bit.
But given Shaq's like former athletic history and some of the problems with his feet and things like that, like I'm guessing he's not getting out of a squat very easily.
He's 7'1" and 325 pounds. Do you think after that bowel movement he was down to 322? These are the tough questions.
All right, I'm on Wayfair right now. I'm looking at bidets. I'm looking at tall toilets for seniors mostly. So, you don't want to sit down. You don't want to squat that much. Oh, here we go. Okay, here's something with its whole contraption that goes behind it. Okay, this is what we're talking about here. Yes, it is a super like waste disposal system. I'm guessing that's what Shaquille O'Neal would need. It's a legitimate question. Like if he came to your house and said you really had to go, would you be worried?
There's the backyard. Love you, Shaq. It's going to be expensive.
I'd have 128 on speed dial.
Look, if I can clog that on my own, I don't need Shaquille O'Neal to do that for me. You know what I mean? Perhaps worse.
But, credit to his friends there on set who really had his back.
The other thing about Kawhi is, you all right, big fella? Catching a cramp.
Go ahead, keep talking, Jeff. Yeah, we're on TV. I know what we do.
I mean, he's in like a full-on jog too. Like he's hustling.
What TV?
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's that olive oil you've been drinking.
I know. Hey, take some matches with you.
He knew it right away.
Hey, listen, he couldn't hold it.
He can't hold it.
After 40, he can't hold it no more.
That's a first.
He can't hold
it. Listen, I just hope we got enough matches around here.
Please turn his mic off. That's all.
That's another issue. Hey, somebody go get some lighters.
Oh, my God.
All right.
There we go. All right, well, good luck to Shaquille O'Neal. Is drinking olive oil a thing also?
Just looking this up. Now, granted, this is the AI overview on Google, which we all know by now is trash, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Potential benefits, heart health, digestion, and inflammation reduction. However, excessive consumption can lead to digestive issues and weight gain.
Okay. All right.
Ryan said he was 20 days straight of taking shots of olive oil for health, So yeah,
Shaq was?
That'll fly through you pretty quickly.
Okay. I thought you meant you were.
No.
I'm like, well, that's why you're so skinny.
You should see Ryan's poops.
Yeah. I don't know that he does. He's just kind of an entity. I don't know if he eats. I don't know if he does anything that normal people do. He's always around. He's always, present. But I don't think he has to suffer through the same things that other people do.
You don't want to play my game. Can you just give me an over-under? Like if I said £1.25.
Over.
I mean, I got to think Shaq's just like a regular meal for Shaq is a couple of pounds.
I'll go over.
All
but
right.
There's no, okay, but in order to play the game, we have to have a winner, and there's no way of knowing.
I won. I got you to answer a question about the size of Shaq's poops that you want to know about clogging the system and all of the, mechanics that go into the piping and the pressure and the flushing. And I'm like, dude, just how big is it?
I don't know that Shaq deserves all this, but there is a guy who deserves every bit of I guess, criticism that comes his way, and that is Pat McAfee. And he got a healthy dose of it from someone who I need some help in determining who this guy is. But Ryan Johnston says he's got me, so you will explain who this guy is and what he said to Pat McAfee. We'll do that next.
Essential.
Kaboom.
Yeah.
Hit somebody.
We've got a passion for Boston sports.
Get angry.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
It's called rising and grinding.
Start your day.
Your finger on the pulse, Fred.
Begin your
Seldom right and never wrong.
right here. Is that toucher or is that target?
Ina looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
I am no longer count myself a fan. I understand it. It's not one of these things. I have 4 categories of things that I like, and I understand why people like me and other people like them. I have things that I don't like, but I understand why people do. And there are the things that I don't like, and I can't understand why anybody does, right?
Sure.
The things I like and understand why people may not. I put wrestling in it's not my thing, but I understand why people get it, okay? So you're into it, and I get why you're into it, but I don't know who this Heyman fella is.
Paul Heyman is a WWE Hall of Famer, was inducted last year. He is has been a manager for a very long time, managed some of the greats in the game, but he also was the founder of ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, back in the 90s.
Okay.
And that kind of ushered in what is known as the Attitude Era of WWE, and he was kind of the founder of that version of wrestling. And so he's very well respected, one of the best talkers in the history of the business. And appeared yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, the day after WrestleMania.
So McAfee is also a color commentator for the WWE?
For Monday Night Raw, yes. He is the color commentator for Monday Night Raw.
This freaking guy.
He's everywhere.
Okay.
So he took his show on the road to WrestleMania, late last week, and then again yesterday. They were at the WrestleMania Fan Fest, and so a lot of WWE people appearing on his show the last few days.
All right. So there's Pat McAfee at WrestleMania, which, of course, we know about, was going on over the weekend in Las Vegas. By the way, did you see the video of the people trying to go up the down escalator?
I did.
To escape the throngs of people who were emptying out onto the street after WrestleMania?
Yeah, one of the guys not going to win the Stairmaster competition this year.
Tapped out. There was another guy who got helped up right before that guy because he was given out at the end. But there was one poor soul who just did not make it and had to take the long ride back down, the ride of shame, as he just stood on the escalator facing the wrong way and just rode it all the way down.
You ever done that as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Gone up the down, yeah.
Yeah. But if I think I know what escalator they were on in Las Vegas. It's an obscenely long escalator.
It's right by the Excalibur.
The walkway that goes across the strip on Las Vegas Boulevard from, I want to say, New York, over to the MGM Grand side. I think that's where it was.
I think, yeah.
Where was WrestleMania?
It was at the Allegiant. It was at the football stadium.
Oh, okay.
So everybody was coming back to the strip.
Walk through Mandalay Bay, probably, the walkway across, and then they were taking that escalator to get the other side of the strip. Okay, I get it. All right. So anyway, Paul Heyman on with Pat McAfee and just doing his thing. He talks a lot. Like you said, he's one of the great, trash talkers, and just he's always talking. And this is what he said to McAfee on McAfee's set.
These are the people who pay you. They sit there and they go, "Hey, Mr. McAfee, don't talk about Shannon Sharp on the air today." And you go, "I talk about anything I want. I'm Pat McAfee. Right. Watch me swing my schlong all over the place."
Okay, well, I want to pick this up from the very beginning. I think I missed the very start of it, but I don't know what led into this. Maybe McAfee was saying something that he was trying to walk back, maybe.
Right. Well, so Shannon Sharp has been accused of sexual assault and battery in a $50 million lawsuit that was filed over the weekend.
Okay.
So that is what Heyman is referencing there.
Okay.
That, since they are on ESPN, perhaps, McAfee has been told not to reference Shannon Sharp today.
All right. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you care about the opinions of people who are irrelevant? You don't care about the opinions of most people who are very relevant in your life. You don't care about the opinions of the people who pay you. They sit there and they go, hey, Mr. McAfee, don't talk about Shannon Sharp on the air today. And you go, I talk about anything I want. I'm Pat McAfee. Right. Watch me swing my schlong all over the place. They go, McAfee, don't talk about your podcast on the air. What do you do? I'm King Schlong. Watch me, Pat McAfee. Right?
This is on you. This is about you, not me.
Okay, so he's trying to shut it down.
King Schlong.
But McAfee knows who this guy is and what he's about. If he's
sure.
Okay, so he should have been prepared for this.
I mean, I guess I don't think he expected the conversation to quite go in this direction.
Maybe to turn on him
right
so quickly.
Accurate stuff,
right?
Accurate stuff.
The crowd is chanting King Schlong, by the way.
Is that something he just invented?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Great crowd there.
Okay.
Come on. Hey, last night when the roast was over and you and I were out back and you're going, wise men. By the way, it's puff, puff, pass, not puff, 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 chase down the gummy, puff, 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 pass, right? And you go, wise man.
So now he's calling him out for smoking his marijuana pot dope after the event last night. And McAfee is so ill-equipped to handle this, right? Going off of his predetermined monologue, what he's going to say, his predetermined takes for this thing. He's got somebody who's throwing curveball after curveball at him. He doesn't know what to do. He has no idea how to handle this.
Well, no one's ever been challenged in a McAfee interview before. McAfee or any of the guests. You come on and just say whatever you want. We clap for you. We tell you how great you are. He's wildly successful. Like, cheers to that, works his ass off. But the idea that he's not ready for this is absolutely right. This has never happened before. Right. Aaron Rodgers, you're great. Bill Belichick, cool. Come on, this is great. Oh yeah, bro, yeah, great. Like this is totally new for him.
He thinks because he doesn't challenge, he deserves that that same respect by not being challenged back. Hey, this is not what we're about. We're here to have fun. We're to have fun and to help perpetuate rumors of college girls and ruin their lives in the process. It's all in good fun, according to Pat McAfee.
Stephen A. Smith really sucks, right? And I go, I love Stephen A. The man calls me the GOAT. The man, Stephen A. Smith, is on the air saying, if there's one person in the universe that I, Stephen A. Smith, at $70 billion a year want to be, it's the wise man, Paul Heyman. And you sit there and you go, these ESPN bastards give me the same money as him or they can.
No, that's not true. None of that's true.
I believe all of it's true. I believe every single word of it.
Yeah. I don't know anything about Paul Heyman. He's a man who I still don't know what he looks like. I've just heard him speak in these clips. I want to swap him out with Pat McAfee.
That would be a good show. That sounds like a show worth watching.
Puff, puff, puff.
Right. So who cares? Yeah, he's out there smoking dope. But do you believe that Pat McAfee got a little loose and started swinging his schlong around, as Heyman said, and started talking about how much money he makes and how Stephen A. isn't all that good and he doesn't do the same type of show that I do?
Yeah, I mean, McAfee and Stephen A. have, beef, don't they?
I don't know.
I think so. And I think it probably stems from two things. Number one, Stephen A. looks at it and says, this guy's a clown. I can't believe out of all the actual work that I do and the shows that I appear on and the things that I actually bring to the network are being compared both monetarily and importance-wise with what Pat McAfee does. But it also comes from the other side, is McAfee sees this for what it is. He's vastly inferior to Stephen A. Smith, so he feels the need in what he thinks are going to remain private conversations like this. He feels the need to prop himself up and say that Stephen A. isn't all that.
I'm curious because Hardy and I come at this from a sports radio perspective or sports fan perspective. What do wrestling fans make of Pat McAfee? Is he a good commentator on Mondays? Do they care about him at all one way or another?
So from my gathering is that he's not a terrific commentator, but he's a big kind of goofy cheerleader
energy guy.
Yeah, it's like having Zoe, really. If you put him on the wrestling, he would. He's just kind of all over the place, and He doesn't really talk a lot about what's going on in the ring, but he reacts to everything.
Oh, lights! Oh, man!
Exactly.
Oh, it's loud in here.
Accurate stuff.
Yeah. So I think, there are, I'm sure, fans who really love him and fans who are like, get this guy off
That's
there.
exactly what it is on College Game Day.
Stereotypical.
I'm going to get loud and say things that are maybe PG-13 and stand up and take my shirt off. And again, the man is not a businessman. He's a businessman. He's rich. Congrats on the success. Not for me.
All right, we're going to jump. Alex Barth will be joining us here in just a few minutes. We'll get top of the hour headlines here from RJ. Now our number 4, Toucher and Hardy here on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy.
up your drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, the official oil change of busy people.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, this is Boston's home for sports.
Holiday 3. Good night. Galen forces it up over. No. Somebody tied it. Oh.
WBZFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Walker Buehler struck out 9 over 7 innings of work. Red Sox beat the White Sox 4-2 yesterday at Fenway. They'll open up a 3-game series against Seattle tonight at Fenway. Brian Bayo makes his season debut on the mound. Another day off for the Celtics and Magic. Game 2 of that series set for TD Garden tomorrow night. Celtics won Game 1 on Sunday. In the NBA last night, Detroit Pistons, with their first playoff game victory since 2008, beat the Knicks. That series even at a game apiece. Clippers top Denver, tie that series at 1. NHL playoffs last night. Washington a 3-2 overtime game winner over Montreal. They take Game 1 of that series. Out west, Winnipeg beat St. Louis. Jets lead that series 2-0. Dallas with a 4-3 win over Colorado in overtime. That ties that series at 1. And the Kings blew a 4-goal lead, still ended up beating the Oilers 6-5 in Game 1 of their series. John Creer and Sharon Lucchetti, the winners of the 129th Boston Marathon yesterday. Headlines brought to you by Eastern Mass's leader in drain cleaning and pipelining, Drains by James. Slow drain, clogged drain? You need to contact Drains by James today at drainsbyjames.com. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in around 30 minutes.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Hey, listen, if you've got to go, we understand, but make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy
That's what I want on my tombstone.
on the Sports Hub.
The last 2 years have been really, really difficult. The worst 2 years of our ownership. Try to create a foundation of a new beginning. And, you know, if you want to build a team that is going to win and sustain winning, you have to have good drafts.
Toucher and Hardy here on 98.5 The Sports Hub with Andrew Callahan, Ryan Johnston, and now Alex Barth, who covers all things sports, specifically Patriots, for 98.5thesportshub.com. What's up, Barth?
What's going on, guys?
Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Big week.
Big week. A little busy this week.
Is this your favorite week of the year?
It's up there.
Are you? I mean, are you like draft crazy like Fred is?
Yeah, but at this point, especially now that 10 years ago, whatever it was, like they pushed the draft back, and there's this week and a half between when the actual information ends, like the 30 visits and the pro days and all that, and the actual draft, where things just get insane. People are just talking themselves in circles. So at this point, I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, we've been talking about this for so long.
Well,
but
get ready for more.
It is a fun week. Oh, yeah, I know. We still got 2 days of that.
Barth, do you remember a couple years ago, Belichick went to this flower festival on Nantucket?
Yeah.
Like a week before the draft, and oh my God, Bill's not Bill's on his way out. He doesn't really care about the draft anymore. And it spoke to exactly what you just said.
Turned out it was true.
Yeah, he was there.
No, I mean, it turned out he wasn't as invested.
Oh, well, yeah.
I don't know. The years he wasn't at the Flower Festival, though, they weren't picking great either, but at least at the end there. But no, it really is. I get why they pushed it back. It's because it's all anybody's talking about. It's more time to talk about the NFL, and as much of a dead period as there is on the NFL calendar, and that's obviously relatively speaking, but as much of a dead period as that league has, it's after the draft. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they push it back again at some point just to make us talk more.
This is, you know, one of the things that annoys me about the NFL is that they are intent on, and have been for years, about owning the calendar.
Yep.
They want a big event in every single month. You know, you space it out. It's like you've got your playoffs in January, you got Super Bowl February, you got free agency, you've got the draft, then you got the start of camp, and then you've got training camp, and they want to have a big story in every month.
Well, look at what they've done with the schedule release.
Yeah,
that's a massive event now, and it's just listing the games. But there's a whole week of leading up, and they trickle the games out, and there's reports, and now you have all the videos all the teams put out and everything like that.
Authorized leaks.
Yeah, exactly. It's they're the king for a reason.
They also now make their own employees at the network and with teams sign NDAs when they get the schedule ahead of time so that they can maximize their TV event. And that has gone in the last couple of years, which they also pushed back a week this year. Normally it was in the first 10 days of May.
I didn't even see that.
Now it could be the 15th. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Great.
So hay is in the barn at this point in terms of what they have, what they know on these guys, and essentially what they think they're going to do across the board. Is it fair to say that things at this point are pretty much predetermined?
The first two things, yes. Yeah, they're not getting any new information. It's kind of all set unless – there's been times where something comes out like the day of the draft, right, that there's breaking news. But what they're doing this week is setting the board. And, okay, we've been looking at all these guys for months. Here's how we want to do it. Some teams may have their board set at this point. Some teams may still be debating. Like Tennessee, the top of that board's set. That board's been set. Sounds like maybe the Giants, there's still a lot of debate going on inside the building and what they want to do at the top. So that's what this week is for. But that stuff doesn't really leak until right about now. Bill Belichick was on the Pat McAfee show a couple years ago and shared that in terms of from the team side, right? Everything we've heard to this point is either agents or college coaches or people hyping up the players, and because that's what they want to do. They want to hype up their guys. The teams don't. It's hard for things to leak from the teams because they haven't set their boards yet. They're setting them right about now. Bill said the real accurate information doesn't really leak from the teams until about 12 hours before the draft. And if you go back to last year, it kind of holds up. The real, Drake May's the pick. You didn't start hearing those rumblings, definitively. It was about 10, 11 hours before the draft.
Well, I want to push back on that. And you're the messenger for Belichick a year or two ago whenever he said that. Right. Because you can go back 2019, and this is one example. Everyone knew the Patriots loved Joanne Williams. Went in the second round. Yeah. And that came out this week. Of course, teams are not volunteering. Hey, here's who we love. We'll give you time to do your own mock drafts and simulations, which I would say this is what this week is about for them. They know who they like. You're deciding third round, okay, if this guy's available versus that one, what do we want to do? Okay, we get a trade offer. That's what they're working through now. They know who they like. I would say the good teams do.
Yeah.
But the leaks, those will happen, man, because Bill had it on such a lockdown from a media standpoint for a long, long time. But they operated in a way that was unique relative to the rest of the league. Other GMs talk. They talk to insiders who swap that information with other GMs to learn about their teams. That's all the way going around. It's just a matter of when do those insiders actually give it up publicly.
That's true. And I think it's more like the top of the draft because you kind of have to wait. That stuff's going to be held. We like this player who's a third-round pick is going to be volunteered a little more than, if you have the second pick, what you're going to do and make those teams a third wait and maybe fish out a trade.
All right. So when it comes to the hours leading up to and specifically with the Giants, what's the debate going on right now? Who do you think is winning on that side of the debate?
I don't know who's winning right now. I feel like there's a chance the quarterback side wins out just because they usually do, right?
Don't give me hope.
We know teams will get, and I refuse to get my hopes up. So I say that thinking still it's going to be Abdul Carter, but I've seen too many teams get stupid at the quarterback position where, I know what they're capable of. It's a position that makes people go insane because if you hit, the upside is so tremendous. And I think this is a really unique scenario where they're should be coming at it from a point of extreme desperation. When you look at Joe Shane, when you look at Brian Daboll, when they're in the positions that they're in, their seat's as hot as anybody in the league. They need a win right now. They probably need to make the playoffs this year. Are you doing that without a quarterback? I know they signed Russell Wilson. I know they signed Jameis Winston. Do those guys believe that, are you putting your job security in 30-whatever-year-old Russell Wilson or in Jameis Winston? Are you betting your job on that? It almost feels like the Giants' approach could be what the Patriots did at left tackle last year, which was, all right, as long as we just have bodies, as long as we just have options, the more options we have, the better chance something works out.
Well, that worked out well.
Again, not saying any of this is right. People do.
I know. I'm not busting on you.
No, I know.
Bill did that at left tackle with Riley Reif and Calvin Anderson the year before. And again, you saw how that went 2 years ago.
But people will do dumb stuff with desperation. It's a position where people are already teams will already sort of go outside the box. I think that there's probably some people in there that understand that that's not the path forward. And no, we need to work with the situation we have. And if we add a player like Abdul Carter, that'll help us more than, chasing our tail at quarterback. But then you probably have other people in there that are just, we have old Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Tommy DeVito on the roster. You're telling me we're not going to try to find a better quarterback than that, which, by the way, they can still do not a 3.
So that is the current buzz, that teams want to come up and trade with a Minnesota or someone in the early 20s ahead of Pittsburgh who might just sit and wait and be like, Shedeur Sanders, come to us. Because my pushback, and Michael Holley is going to be in tomorrow broadcasting, the Shedeur Sanders is 3, he's going, and I've argued with him on television enough to say it's not going to happen. Because Shedeur Sanders is just not good enough. Not for the number 3 pick like we've been talking about with Will Campbell, but to be in the conversation. Like, it's not something you can even talk yourself into. You have to be desperate beyond reason, more desperate than normal. And if you're able to talk yourself into a stupid trade, here's a future first so we can come up to 19 and get him ahead of the Steelers at 21, that to me is more likely. Because in the process, you say, we'll get Abdul Carter and have our cake and eat it too later with the quarterback late in the first round.
So a sneaky idea that, like, I try to fit into some mock drafts. Like, it's not just the Giants need a quarterback. Andrew Berry, the GM of the Browns, said earlier this offseason after he went to the Colorado Pro Day, like, man, I wish I could have them both. Talking about Hunter and Sanders. Do they take, and this would be so Browns, wouldn't it, to take Travis Hunter at 2 and then trade up, jump the Steelers, and draft Shedeur Sanders at like 18 or 19 and reunite those guys? I'm not saying it would work.
I'm in.
But wouldn't that be so Browns?
I just can't have Travis Hunter catching passes from Joe Flacco right now and the remnants of Joe. Like, that guy deserves a better quarterback.
It doesn't. And getting back to the Giants for a second here.
Yeah.
You talk about whether or not you want to put the franchise in the hands of either Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. And as unappealing as both of those options are, you have to convince yourself that it's better to do it with Shedeur Sanders. And I can't get there. It's not like we're talking about the best quarterback in the draft.
Right.
In a draft that's lacking of quarterback. He's not even that. So why would you do that if you're the Giants?
Because they're desperate. Because you're grasping at straws, because that's kind of what, again, your job's on the line. Is somebody in there? Because clearly somebody is, because it's being reported that, there's still a push inside the building. Is somebody in there looking at it and saying, I'd rather have another option. I'd like to have another fallback, and you don't use the 3rd overall pick on a fallback, obviously. Let me be clear. This is not me defending it. This is just me kind of guessing maybe what the conversation is, and I do think what the happy medium is and what it will ultimately be, Andrew, is what you laid out. All right, we're not going to use the 3rd pick, but we'll open up assets to move back up into the first round and get Sanders, or if he doesn't fall, maybe they really like Jackson Dart or one of these other guys. The thing about that, though, is now you're borrowing a future first, if that's what it takes. I don't think you're going to see a lot of future picks move this year because this is a weaker draft, and are you going to borrow from a better class? But if that's what you have to do to get a quarterback, that's what you have to do. For whatever team is on the other side of that, they're going to be one of the winners of the draft if you can get a future
Your second
first.
and third rounders this year should not be viewed on the same level as second and third rounders next year.
No.
Gotcha.
Well, especially not the first rounders. I'd say
Right,
second
and
or third, you might have an argument in certain positions, not all of them. I'll also just throw this wrinkle in there because, again, the impact on this is the Patriots. We've all come to accept and agree. Will Campbell's going to be the pick at 4 because the Giants are not taking Shedeur Sanders at 3. They might get him. We think it'll be later. Ownership. You don't have to be desperate as a head coach and a GM to make a silly decision as we've been describing. You just need your boss to say, do this. And I don't know where the Maras are right now because you could argue, hey, if you tell your, lame duck coach and GM, you have to do this, and they abide by it and it fails, well, you're not holding them accountable by firing them. You're holding yourself. Like, you can't do good business that way. But they might just go, I don't care. I bought in. I see the future here with the guy's the son of a Hall of Famer. We can make it work in New York. And we don't know how the ownership feels.
And that's what would make that pick happen, is ownership coming down the hall. Because Shedeur Sanders is going to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And he's going to get you on TV and all of that, and that's where, again, there's no football reason for it. I'm with you that taking Shedeur Sanders at 2 or at 3 is tough to justify from a football reason. But if you're ownership, there's a lot of reasons to like that pick in the short term, even if you're not looking at the bigger picture. All
right. We've talked ourselves in circles, especially with these top 4 picks. I want to go a little bit further down the board. You've done, mock drafts, and I heard you on with Felgram as they were, quizzing you on players that, you may have an idea on some potential Patriots. I just want to get your thoughts on a few guys. Tiger Shanks.
Oh, this is one of the guys Andrew was talking about this morning, right? I don't remember what. If you
damn it, I didn't know you had heard it.
I saw Andrew's tweet. Yeah.
Had you heard of Tiger Shanks?
Not before this, but I had heard of Parker Titsworth.
And what had you heard about Parker Titsworth?
His name's Parker Titsworth. He wears number 69. He's a long snapper, right?
Center.
Ooh,
we got him.
5'11", 288.
There is a 5'11", 280-pound guard that some people think is going to get drafted in this draft.
From?
North Dakota. North Carolina.
Wow.
Has a
Willie
longer
Lampkin.
wingspan than Will Campbell.
Yes.
He might.
They call him Jaquay Wiggles.
No, don't do that to him. And it's Jaquantry. Jaquantry Wiggles.
Correct the super fake name. Yes.
Correct.
Distant descendant of George Washington Carver.
Well, there is a guy in the draft whose nickname is Big Wiggle. Desmond Watson, 434-pound, 64-pound defensive tackle. From
Different
Florida.
guy.
Okay.
It's a different guy altogether. Have we made up our minds? Have you made up your mind if it is Will Campbell? Can he play left tackle?
I think he can. I think he did it in the SEC at a high level for a number of years. And is he going to be the best left tackle in the history of the game? No, probably not. Can he be a guy that plays that position for 8 to 10 years and is a solid starter and you don't have to worry about it being a need? Yeah, I think you can get that out of him. And in this draft, if that's what you get at the 4th overall pick, you did fine.
Just don't ask him to reach into his pocket for anything.
Okay. That's twice now, Ryan. It's unkind and it's unfair. Yeah, I'm sure he can reach his own pockets. How dare you?
I have not been high on Will Campbell. I would be fine with the pick because of how terrible the left tackle situation has been here. You have a franchise quarterback. You need to protect him. I don't think he'll ever be a top 10 left tackle. I don't know if he can stick there. And I don't like the fact that, we don't really know if he can play the position we're drafting him for. I would take Armand Membu and rather risk that he can transition to left tackle. And if he doesn't, we'll have a right tackle in the future because Morgan Moses is 34. But you just have to fix that spot. And he's not so much worse than a Tyler Warren or pick another player, Mason Graham, that it feels like a reach. Your need absolutely has to be filled, and you can't be like, fingers crossed we get Josh Connerly at 24.
You can't ignore the position.
It's a disappointment.
No.
We just can't expect Pro Bowl Hall of Fame left tackle. That's not the class. That's not the player. If he's above average, this is a success.
Something that drives me nuts is when people say, he would have been the 4th or 5th tackle in last year's draft. Okay. If Joe Alt was in this class, I would say take him instead of Will Campbell. Obviously, I'd say take Olufashanu. They're not. And you can't just tell Roger Goodell, we don't like any of these players. Just put us on the board for 4 next year. We'll make it then. You got to work with the class you have. Will Campbell's the best pick available in the class they have.
I would say it's more fair to say cargo pants. Don't ask him to stuff anything down the side of his leg. And that's going to be an issue.
When he gets down into the 3-point stance, does he tip over?
It's more 2-point stance guy, honestly.
Yeah, see?
Well, it's because he can't reach the ground.
But it's also by choice. It's not just out of necessity. Alex Barth, Reenem at 98.5, thesportshub.com. He'll be on with everybody presumably all week. But what are you doing on draft night specifically? What are you doing Thursday night?
I will be with Joe Murray up at the Brook. We'll be doing a live show from there.
Okay, good.
So, all night.
Alex Barth, appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Are you on middays today?
Yes.
Nice.
I'll be back in here in 40 minutes.
All right. Well, go do whatever you're going to do. And we'll do the email and the stack coming up next here on Toucher and Hardy.
email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
It is the email bit, as we are on the Sports Hub here, Toucher and Hardy. Andrew Callahan and Ryan Johnston. First email having to do with yesterday's show and actually today's midday show. McCone not showing up today. This comes from Dave Carter. So McCone not in today?
Why would he be? He ran the friggin' marathon yesterday.
Well, Sean
that was yesterday. What's he doing today?
Sean McDonald, Channel 9, New Hampshire, showed up at 5 a.m. He ran the marathon and raised $75,000 for Brewski's charity. He does his anchor job standing up.
Well, I stand corrected.
And then there's some comparisons to what McCone did, and he said, I'd send this to the midday show, but they're all off. Someone tell Fred. Was also off. So there you go. I myself would probably want the day off after the marathon, but there are people who are working today. And don't you want to take a bit of a victory lap?
That's the thing. Today's the day that you're allowed to wear like your jacket and your medal, right?
Correct.
So you're going to take that day off and not take that opportunity?
Why did you go to work the day after you ran the marathon, Andrew?
Yes. I covered that Saints game. So it was an afternoon or midday marathon on Martha's Vineyard on a Saturday in September. Ran it, took the ferry back, obviously went to bed and then drove down, 1 o'clock kickoff, and sat in my seat in the press box basically through lunch the whole game. But yeah, I went to work.
But since it was the Martha's Vineyard marathon, no one cared.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, is Drew Carter not going to call the Celtics game tomorrow night? Bet he's there.
He's got time. He's not going to practice today.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he going to be at shoot-around? Is he going to be at practice? I don't know. That remains to be seen. I forget, Ryan, do you participate in the email segment? Are you the one who taps out on it?
I do not have a public email address that people would know about, so I tend to not get a lot of emails.
Would you like to change that?
No, not really.
We've dissected this before. Do you want a Sports Hub email address?
Like at 98.5 the Sports Hub?
You must have one.
I mean, I've got a corporate account.
Well, all right. People could email you there.
Ryan.johnston@bbgi.com.
We're going to fix this by tomorrow.
Needs to be snappier. We should have it be like what's brewing at thesportshub.com.
Yeah. What's brewing? What's brewing? What's brewing with Ryan Johnston?
That's not bad. BRUIN apostrophe. Just different enough to keep us out of trouble with the morning brew guys. I like it.
Do you get a logo with that?
Hey, what's brewing?
That's great. I just emailed that address, and I think it went through. I think that's there. There it is.
Oh, it's there. I mean,
Yeah.
I use it for, actual business. But
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I know what this is. I'm going to try it anyway. Holy crap. All right. Dave sent me this before, and he said, I've crafted this expansive 2 stats for you should you need ammo against Callahan today. All right. So this is a bonus.
A listener-sponsored 2 stats and a lie?
This is a bonus 2 stats and a lie. The Green Bay Packers have drafted as many NFL Hall of Famers as the New York Yankees. Once again, the Green Bay Packers have drafted as many NFL Hall of Famers as the New York Yankees. Number 2, since 2014, Carmelo Anthony has played more games than Joel Embiid. And number 3, when he was younger, MLB pitcher Madison Bumgarner once dated a girl named Madison Bumgarner.
It's all over the place here. So I'm going to quibble with the first one because there's not an NFL Hall of Fame. There's a Pro Football Hall of Fame, which would include pre-Super Bowl era, obviously. It sounds too outlandish. Drafted.
Wait a second. What is your reasoning for the first one again?
Because he says as many players in the NFL Hall of Fame, which does not exist. It's Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Okay, I think he meant pro football.
I understand. But look, here, that's where the technicalities
don't fret
are.
yourself out of this one.
Madison Bumgarner.
Okay, Packers have drafted as many Pro Football Hall of Famers as the Yankees. Number 2, since 2014, Carmelo Anthony has played more games than Joel Embiid. And number 3, when he was younger, Madison Bumgarner once dated a girl named Madison Bumgarner.
Number 3 is the lie, but I have a hard time believing number 1.
Number 3 is true. I've heard this story before.
All right. Are we locked in?
No. Now I want to choose 1. Thank you, Brian.
You're going with number 1?
Yeah.
Ryan, you're going number 3?
No, number 3 is is true. I believe that is true. So I think I've heard that before. So I'm going to go with number 2.
Number 3 is the lie. Madison Bumgarner has said that he dated a girl, but he must have been joking when he said it. The first 2 are true. The Packers have drafted as many NFL Hall of Famers as the Yankees have. And since 2014, Carmelo Anthony has played more games than Joel Embiid. Those are both statistically true, according to Dave on the email.
So I let myself get swayed out of that.
I don't know what happened.
Hold the Fred, you did.
I don't know what happened. You started.
Well, I got to give a hockey assist. What's brewing over here is not good.
What?
So I feel misled because Madison Bumgarner has said that.
Yeah, that's true.
So the fact that he lied.
This is 2 stats and 1 liar.
And Madison Bumgarner is the liar.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you got. I still think you got too caught up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame versus the.
Well, just
NFL
initially,
Hall
because you got to talk it out. You know, Packers are older than the NFL, so that's all.
All right. Nick says, Hardy, I've run 1 marathon in my life when I was 25. It took me near 5 hours. In my defense, I had a month to train because my older brother called me a month before and said he couldn't get past 3 or 4 miles without his knee killing him. And I was running 6 to 7 back then on my weekly run, so I agreed to run on his number. I don't know if that's allowed, if you just swap out numbers and then show up at the starting line. I made it 17 miles before my knee gave out, and I had to limp the last 9. I was cruising approximately 8-minute miles up until the 17-mile mark, and then I fell off a cliff. See, to me, this is the scariest thing. If you're running 6 to 7 miles regularly, you think, oh, I can just train a little bit more and then I can run the marathon. No, you can't. No, you really can't. And McBone, who has run multiple marathons and was shooting for a sub-3:30 time, you saw the videos of him yesterday. I don't know at what point that was at. Looked like he was, getting toward the finish, but several miles to go. He was not clocking 8-minute miles at that point.
His last mile was like 8.5 minutes. So he did pick it up at the
end. All right,
end.
he found it at the end, but holy crap.
No, like because I looked up his splits, like the middle to 2/3 portion of the race, he was hitting like 11.5 minute miles.
You just got to finish. I don't know. I've only done 1. But
if you injure yourself at 17 miles and you've still got 9 miles to go, like at some point you just I'm good.
How about the guy who won stumbled at the start? Like they're in a pack and he tripped and fell and scraped his leg.
Right, messed his knee up and his palm of his hand right out the gate and still ended up winning. And
so one of the things that Dave McGillivray told us yesterday was that as they've gotten more and more runners over the years, the starting line in Hopkinton is very small. I mean, it's a small town and it's a small, roads. And he said they were bottlenecking. People were coming into the starting gate and, the road narrows a little bit and you can't widen the road. There's just no room to widen it. So he said, well, we had to figure out what to do. So kind of ingenious. They narrowed the start. And the chute leading up to the start, if we can't make it wider beyond that, we just have to narrow everything before the bottleneck, which seems, it goes against what logic is. But if you can't widen something, what do? You narrow it beforehand. And that has essentially fixed the problem over the years. So I don't know what it's like in that wave of runners trying to get to the starting line, but as narrow as it looks, once you start, it's even narrower before that. I didn't bother to look.
They have too many runners. They could just do single file.
Well, I could have got
everybody walk it. Everybody get in one straight line.
Right. I could have walked back there and looked, but it was like 40 yards away in the actual starting line, and that time of morning, I'm not doing that much walking back and forth. 0.7 of a mile, by the way, which is why McCone couldn't come on with us live yesterday. Number one, he was still on the bus at 9:45 getting to the actual start. So that's number one. But even had he got there, it's 0.7 of a mile to get from where they stage to the starting line.
Which is really not cool. I mean, you got to run 26.2 miles. They basically make it 27 miles.
You're gonna make me walk almost another mile just to get to the starting line.
It's honestly a nice warm up, like especially if you're just walking. I get the bit, and it sounds ridiculous.
Well, how long did you have to walk on your vineyard marathon, or did you just crawl out of your B&B and just step right to the starting line?
No, we had to drive over, and the bus almost missed pickup time.
Why?
I don't know. It was late. So we got in the car as the bus finally pulled up, but then we arrived at the finish line with like 5 minutes before we were about to start.
Was it the snooze knob or the AM PM?
It wasn't me. I never even bothered
Which
to ask
was
the
it,
driver.
Jean Paul, or was it separate knob? Why separate knob? Neither one. All right.
No.
We have
I'm looking at the start line, by the way. Is it only this wide because that's how wide the road is? Like,
yeah.
This is why eminent domain exists. Just take it over. Widen it out a little bit. What else is Hopkinton doing?
People are with their towns.
Just allow a little off-roading.
I think it's
like people want to take the shortcut around.
I don't even think it's narrower right there at the start so much as like down the road a little bit. It narrows even more. And again, probably another 40 or 50 yards down away from the starting line, which I wasn't going to walk down there either. I set up and I was very comfy for the first like hour and a half of the show yesterday. Had my fleece lined pants on, had my jacket, had my hoodie, had everything working. And then that layer of like warmth burns off once the sun comes up. And I think it got a little crisper, a little less humid, a little wind started to blow. And Rochi, who doesn't complain, really, he and I were both freezing yesterday. So I don't know how to fix it in future years. Hopefully it will not be my issue. Hopefully, next year, Fred will actually stick around for this week, and he can go do that show. That'd be a good idea. Have Fred out there talking to everybody, sitting outside, doing the show for 4 hours from the starting line. Everybody, all in favor of Fred doing the show from the starting line next year? Let's see a show of hands.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Come on, he could do it.
I mean, he
could do it.
All the marathon stories and all the reasons why people are running and all that stuff. You don't think he
right up his alley.
Packs the empathy and engage in the storytelling? You don't think? We'll talk to him about it. We'll do the stack next here on Toucher and Hardy. Hold on.
Essential Sports Hub headline. Have it. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
All right, it's time for The Stack. There's one story that we didn't get to at the end of last week. I'm fascinated by this. You guys remember Fire Festival? Did you see either documentary about the Fire Festival?
Geez, yes.
Okay. Did you know that the creator of Fire Festival, behind that whole fraud, Billy McFarland, had been planning and is still planning a Fire Festival too?
Are tickets available yet? Can I get those?
And a lot were sold, despite the fact not one named artist could be found anywhere, not a specific location, and when investigated, the place where it was supposed to be taking, the site where it was supposed to be taking place in Mexico, people called and said, no, we don't have any permits pulled for it. We don't have anything. There's nothing going on with Fire Festival 2 from May 30th to June 2nd. Fire Festival 2 is real was the advertised slogan for the event. Tickets started at $1,400,
I mean, you have to
and they
feel
were
like-
already selling.
You have to feel like they would have learned their lesson in, the Firefest people who put it together would have learned their lessons from the first one. Second one will be better, right?
Yeah. Well, apparently now it has been postponed. Again,
from when?
They put the tickets on sale in February. They were selling, and apparently just a couple of little hiccups, like not having anyone scheduled to perform and not having an actual site for the festival that promised to be an electrifying celebration of music, arts, cuisine, comedy, fashion, gaming, sports, and treasure hunting.
Treasure hunting.
Treasure hunting to redefine creativity and culture. Just those minor things of not having an actual, performers or a site has forced them to postpone.
Yeah, but how many times can you redefine creativity and culture?
Yeah, well,
You get me down there. I think there's a content opportunity here.
Just so we're clear, the organizer, Billy McFarland, was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison for the first Fire Festival. And he said he tried to write a book while he was inside using voice notes on his iPhone, but that wasn't allowed. So then he was put into solitary confinement during his imprisonment. And then he was requested and granted a compassionate release after, I don't know, a couple of years or something.
What kind of prison is this that you have your iPhone available for voice memos, but then that is such an egregious violation that you can be sent to solitary? Imagine asking the other guys in the yards, I got sent to solitary. Oh, what'd you do?
Could he not get like a pencil and legal paper?
You can have an iPhone. You just can't use voice notes.
Yeah.
That's where we got to draw the line. All right. Does anybody know about this Weezer movie other than the one blip I have about it, which is that Keanu Reeves has been cast in a Weezer movie? Do you know anything
is this
about
like a biopic of Weezer?
I'm asking. So apparently it's a combination of a cross between Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I've not seen, and the Weird Al Yankovic story. But Keanu Reeves has been cast as the villain in the Weezer movie. So any other information I could get about this would be greatly appreciated. Not that I'm going to see it, but
I'm still confused. Is Weezer starring in this movie, or is it?
It's
about
a mockumentary.
Weezer?
It's a mockumentary about Weezer.
There we go.
So it's like Spinal Tap, but with Weezer.
Thank you.
Weezer's hoping it would be more like a Kiss Phantom of the Park situation, but
one thing that did interest me though is the fact that in all the other listings here in this movie notes, where there's precious little about this Weezer movie, Amazon or Amazon MGM is doing a Pacific Rim origin series. The first Pacific Rim, not the second one, that's garbage. The first Pacific Rim, I will sit down and watch at any point when it's on and watch it until the end. There's just something about it. And it's the one time I've ever been in the movies with Fred Toucher. It was a double date night as they were unveiling some new theater, and we went to see Pacific Rim. I loved it. He hated it. I should have known then.
You know what I watched last night, Hardy, that you
Whole
had
thing is a bad
suggested?
idea.
I watched Heretic, finally. You had suggested that, I believe, the Hugh Grant thriller from last year.
What'd you think?
Loved it.
Yeah, it's good,
Loved
right?
it. Great twists in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Fantastic. Yeah.
All right.
One question, and then I have an answer about the Weezer movie. Has anyone seen Sinners yet?
No.
I'd
Might do
like
that
to.
tonight.
Looks good. You going to see it tonight?
Yeah, I will.
We'll get the review when you're back on Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
And then some answers on the Weezer movie. So it's a film about a high-octane rivalry between two bands, one being Weezer, and the other led by Keanu Reeves, whose band Dogstar, was the featured band for Weezer's first show. So Weezer opened for this band Dogstar in March 1992.
That was Keanu Reeves'
Yeah,
band,
that was.
right?
That was like a legitimate, real signed band. Yeah.
They opened for his band, and it looks like they have just reformed in 2023 to release their first new material since 2000. This is from exclaim.ca, so don't blame me. None of this turns out to be true, but it looks like the film is about a rivalry between the two, and they legitimately cross paths in real life on stage in 1992.
I'm already out. All right, finally today, as we get near the end of the show, the song Ass Man that plays at the end of every show. Do you know whose theme song this is? Ryan Johnson,
That would
wrestling
be
aficionado?
Badass Billy Gunn.
Badass Billy Gunn. asked about it recently.
All right, guys. So the big rumor is, well, it's not really a rumor,
It's
right?
fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
That Ass Man theme song, which is mine, by the way, on 98.5, the Sports Hub, right?
They played at the end of every show, yeah.
The end of every show because that's how we go out. Like, there's no better way to go out than the theme song of Mr. Ass.
And then
right?
you've been getting a lot of royalties from this, right?
I haven't gotten from them. Like, I get nothing. You use you just use me. Like, I just feel like I've been used. But that's okay, because the song's really cool. And if you're not down with that, I got 2 words for you. Suck it. I'm a nice man.
How about He's right. That? Well, I mean, he should be getting ASCAP BMI something, right?
Yeah,
he didn't write and or perform the song.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting played 5 days a week, more than 30 seconds of it. So, I don't know. Talk to your publishers.
This is in the public domain now. You can't really demand. It's like Happy Birthday.
Like all classical
Right.
music, This is fair use. We appreciate you, Billy Gunn. We appreciate you giving your reluctant okay to keep using the song there at the end.
Artie, I want to wish you a happy opening day today.
What opens today?
It's season 2 of the Karen Reed trial.
Oh, God.
No, you're a big fan.
It's on right now. Yeah. And
the other pride of Canton.
Yeah. And with that, in keeping with my long-standing tradition, no comment.
Yeah. What do you know?
Talk to you tomorrow.
Were you there?
Bye.